21 tarehe 9 mwezi wa 11 mwaka 2021. Natumai kwamba uko salama, umeamka vizuri na uko tayari kuweza kutackle siku yako kwa njia shwari zaidi. Pole tumechelewa leo kidogo kwenye State of the Nation, mambo kidogo hapa barabarani, lakini basi ndio sisi tumefika. Asanteni sana. I request that when you join in, please like. When you like, we get to know that you're watching us, and after like, please share. When you share, you give someone else an opportunity to watch the broadcast. This is a tackle and it begins now. Asanteni sana. Please ukifika pale piga like, kisha piga like tafadhali, share, kisha unapa mtu mwingine nafasi ya kuweza kutazama program ya leo. Naambia pia where you watching us from, where are you watching us from. Naona Sakli Masa anasema yuko pale Narok. Haya pia basi niambie unatazama kutoka wapi, alafu basi tuweze kuanza kwa pamoja. Lakini kama kawaida lazima tuende mbele za Mungu tuombe, alafu kirudi basi na kuja kujua inakuaje. Sije kama kana ya kanga unaombanga Peter.
Hamjambo wote.
Uko salama?
Asante. Tuombe. Mungu Baba, tunakushukuru kwa asubuhi ya leo tunapoanza kipindi hiki, utuongoze. Tunaombea wote wa Kenya ambao wote wanatusikiliza na wote wako ngambo na popote, kwamba utazidi kuwabariki. Na Baba, tunaomba kwamba uongoze nchi yetu ya Kenya, utupatie amani, utupatie uongozi bora. Tunaomba haya machache kwa jina la Yesu Kristo mkombozi wetu. Amen. Asante sana Peter. Nashukuru sana kwa the State of the Nation edition, the 9th of November 2021. It's only a few days to Christmas. Exactly. Almost 1 month to Christmas. So Merry Christmas in advance, just in case hatutapatana na siku ya Christmas.
Tabia ya watu ambao wataki kushare vitu.
Tabia wachoyo.
Watu wachoyo hati Merry Christmas in advance. Ndio sababu ndio tusikutafute.
It's 1 month to Christmas. Countdown to Christmas, not to Christmas. Mwaka huu umeenda sijui kumeenda vipi. And wenaona Matikans keeps Luisa sema ndani Annex Eldoret. Asante Karoki wa Masi, niko ndani kutoka county 047. Asante sana ndugu yangu Karoki wa Masi kutoka Kayole. Kipkwe Cheriot, good morning. Peter, good morning. Chamon Biward, good morning. Tetekol watching from Eldoret. Kiprop Gilberto, good morning. Jamal Jayden, good morning to you Jamal. Ernest Lagat, good morning. Sir, good morning. Sakli Masai, morning from Narok. Miguna anarudi next week. Ala? Okay. Haya tamsubiri, wacha nitampigia simu nisikie anasema vipi. Haya Kibet Ernest Chirchir, good morning boss, niko ndani kabisa. Asante sana Kipkoech Kibet, good morning mheshimiwa mtarajiwa live from Kipevu Mombasa. Asante sana Kipkoech. Lawrence Kigen Kiblagat, good morning. Takla Sam Zioka Wakatuse, where are you falling from Isli? Sam Zioka Wakatuse sijui aliendanga wapi, lakini hebu mtafute mwambie mke. Kidion Kenyike watching live from Narok. Arieba Job morning watching from Cabernet Road Nairobi. Asante sana jirani. Kilbert Kitur, hi Kibirapa. Asante sana Gili. Njorege Mwangi watching from Peketoni Lamu County. Asante sana watu wa Peketoni, nashukuru kuona asubuhi ya leo. Franklin Nyongesa Weshuri, good morning sir, watching you from Kakamega. Franklin Nyongesa Weshuri anasema Kakamega Central Seat aspirant. Asante sana Weshuri and all the best. Amfrey Mushira, good morning Bitok. Amfrey Mushira listening from Kitale. Asante sana wa Kitale. Tajiri Tarus mwenyewe TT anasema from Elgon View Eldoret. Asante sana ndugu yangu, tuonane weekend. Dennis B Kibrono, good morning from Njoro Logdin. Asante sana. This is State of the Nation edition, the 9th of November 2021. Tuko na Arnold Maliba ambaye anakujanga hapa kila siku, is a policy expert. Nisikia yeye ndiye alikuwa ameenda kutangaza serikali sijui Ethiopia mia Somalia, atatuambia. Tuko na Peter Akanyalakanga Amunga
Khanyalabandu Wosipepe.
Wosipepe. Aya, mtu ANC. Nasikia ANC pia, nasikia ANC wameanza kupanda wheelbarrow, atatuambia sijui kama ni ukweli. Nimesikia tufununu. Kanyalakanga kwa siku hizo anakunywa chai huko Karen, atatuambia sijui kama ni fununu ama story ama ni mtu kama yeye alionekana. Haya, alignments pia zinaanza za kisiasa. Tajua nani anaenda wapi, who is buying who, and what is going to who is going to be affected and how is the tilt going to be. Lakini kama kawaida kama tujengia lazima tuende pale masokoni tulipe madeni, alafu basi tukirudi tunakuja kuingia kwenye mjadala wa siku haraka upesi, na tunaanza na majamaa wangu pale Maridadi Motors. Kama umepata pesa mahali, acha kutembea mguu. Haya, naenda pale Maridadi Motors, kuna flexible terms. You can get to access your vehicle at the cheapest rates possible. Do tell you that when you import direct with Maridadi Motors, you get to save up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings. Ukiweza kuagiza gari kupitia Maridadi Motors, inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kusave up to 300,000 Kenyan shillings when you import directly with them. You don't get such a deal anywhere else. Na pia kama kuna chapa umeweka mahali kidogo, unataka kusave, unaweka pale kwenye import to sell model, biashara yako unaweza kunoga pole pole. Unafanya biashara kwa niaba yako, unapata returns ya up to 15% returns on your investment. investment. If you invest money at the import to sell model, you get to earn up to 15% of your money that you invest there. Maridadi Motorsoccer as well is giving an opportunity to save for 2 reasons. If you're saving for a car, you save up to 50% total cost of the vehicle, na pia kama una save kama kuweza kuweka akiba, unaweza pala pia unapata faida yako asilimia 15 kwa njia rahisi zaidi. Maridadi Motors inapata nafasi ya kuweza kuagiza gari kwa bei nafuu zaidi. Direct imports ndio zinakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuinvest pesa zako import to sell model, na pia Maridadi Motors Sacco inakupatia njia rahisi sana ya kuweza kupata gari. The busiest way to own a car is through Maridadi Motors Sacco. You get to save 50% total value of the car. Hiyo nyingine unaweza kulipia polepole ukiendesha gari yako mdogo, na pia Maridadi Motors Sacco inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kusave kwa njia mbili. If you are saving for a unit, you save for 50%. If you also saving as an investment, you save and you get one up to 15% returns on the savings that you put in there. Maridadi Driving Academy as well gives an opportunity to be the best driver in town. There's no other place to be a good driver than Maridadi Driving Academy. Hali unaenda kutengenezwa unakuwa driver maridadi zaidi. Na pia ukishanunua gari, sasa ni wakati wa kuendesha gari kuelekea mahali shamba iko, na pia unaenda pale kujenga. Rex Roofing unakupa nafasi ya kuweza kuwezeka nyumba yako. If you are roofing and umefika mahali unataka kurufa and you want your roof to look beautiful, you can always trust Rex Roofing to handle your roofing. Rex Roofing does your wall quality roofing shingles, stone coated iron tile, stone coated tiles, na pia inakuletea water of UPVC water harvesting gutters, 100% safe water for consumption or safe mahali unahakikisha kwamba unaweza kuharvest maji yako kwa njia rahisi zaidi na kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba unaweza itumia nyumbani. Watu wanauliza, is shingle safe to harvest water? I can tell you 100% safe as long as you use original shingles from Rex Roofing. You can harvest your water, alafu basi unaweza kuitumia pale nyumbani kidogo. We also giving you a guarantee of 10 years workmanship guarantee. This is what we say, that if you roof your house, we'll be there for 10 years. Kama kuna shida yote ambayo inaharibika kwenye roof yako, tunakuja tunairekebisha mdogo, na pia tunakupa 50 years product guarantee. For 50 years we can guarantee you that your roof will still be there. I don't know where you'll be in the next 50 years, but I can guarantee you that your roof will still be there. Also, Rex Roofing is turning 10 this month. Rex Roofing is turning 10 this month, and we're giving you 10% discount on all waterproofing solutions. Waterproofing solutions, APP membranes, na pia waterproofing liquids. Nakupa 10% off during this birthday season. Yeah, Rex Roofing that's turning 10% off on all roofing, on all waterproofing materials. Rex Roofing roofs your wall. www.rexroofing.com. Ama unaweza kupiga ama unaweza kupiga namba kwa simu ambayo unaiona pale kwenye screen yako. Disco pia nakupa nafasi ya ukasa gongara na kukana kwa njia shwari zaidi. Kimbia pale Disco where Eldoret katia building 4th floor, alafu basi unaweza kupata mngaro safi kama ambayo unaiona hapa. Pia ukikoa kama vile umesikia nimekoa, iko dawa hapa ya recharge dawa by Peptang. This is the best combination, and this is the best combination of lemon, ginger and honey. Kama uko na mali hapo, acha kukula na stress wakati wa baridi. Kama pia kama wewe unatumia sauti kama mimi kila saa, hakikisha kwamba una recharge, unaweza kupata nguvu yako kwa njia shwari zaidi. 100% natural, no added sugar, ginger, lemon and honey, all they from Peptang. Peptang inakupa nafasi ya kuweza kupata drink safi zaidi. Basi una recharge na siku yako inakuwa shwari zaidi. ARNOLD MALIBA, good morning.
Morning Gerald.
Kwa salama?
Yeah, niko salama. Ningependa kuanza na with a very serious disclaimer. KRA, wherever they are watching, we are here with Gerald, and of course they have heard you mention some of your friends and the people you are working with. Yes. People like Maridadi Motors, the Rex Roofing, the guys and Peptang. I am actually just putting in a disclaimer. We are only friends who are Bitok. He has not shared anything with us.
But I'll give a new recharge.
He just gave us one bottle. We don't know how much more he has left elsewhere.
Recharge bwana, wacha maneno.
Hajatupatia sadaka na hapa.
Lakini bwana, hatuwezi kuwa maskini offline na online. Lazima tupone mahali moja.
Ndio naambia tu KRA in advance. Nimepatiwa tu recharge kadogo tu hapa na pia kameisha. So
wasikufuate. You've been well, how have you been? Umepotea sana kidogo.
I've been well. Up and about working. I think last week I came from Somalia as usual. That's my base for working. Then went via Addis because unfortunately when you're coming from Mogadishu on Thursdays, literally everybody is leaving Mogadishu because their weekend starts on Friday. Friday is not a working day. Then Saturday, then we start to work on Sunday. So literally everybody else is closing shop on Thursday, so you might not get a flight. So I had to then go via Addis and then come back to Nairobi. A very a journey that will take me 2.5 hours then ends up taking about 6 because of the layover time. When I was in Addis, I think it looked like everything was fine. So surprised that everything is falling so fast. In 10 days I've just been in Addis. But I'm happy.
When you're in Addis, things were still stable.
Yeah. Well, when I was in Addis, of course I was at Bole Airport, so not so much. But coming from Mogadishu to Addis, nothing looked like at the city's gates, rebels would be knocking and people would be running away. Things were so easy. Now all of a sudden, we are seeing all kind of statements coming up of people leaving and embassies evacuating their staff and non-essential staff being evacuated and everything else. I pray that Addis, being our firstborn, at least they be able to stand, and that violence is not necessarily, by the force of arms, is not necessarily going to bring what they really need, because even after the Tigrans and then the Oromo Liberation Front probably take down government, they will also find it very difficult to run that country, because all the other groups are also very, very hostile to them. So the best way to look at it is probably to just have a conversation around it. But a takeover is losing a country.
But what exactly is going on in Ethiopia then?
You know, Ethiopia, like very many African countries, and unfortunately for them who have existed for a very long time as a republic,
As a nation.
have never been a nation. They are a republic, but they have never been a nation. They've never jailed up to become a nation that is one. And I think with so many things, like over time, of course, all of us have known that the Oromo side that borders with us here has always wanted to secede, because the governments of the past really had marginalized them. The Tigrans on the other side have been the elite of the country, and for a very long time they were in control of the country. I think the few years that Abiy has taken over, himself an Oromo,
Abiy is an Oromo.
Yeah, they are reacting to the feeling that you know how the whites reacted when Obama was in power.
Yes.
They ended up giving us Trump. That was just a reaction for people just thinking, especially those who couldn't believe that a black man had been in power. But then the other groups, on the eastern side of Ethiopia, we have got the Ogaden region, which is Somali. And you know that even Ethiopia has gone to war with Somalia over that particular region. The Ogaden region has always wanted to cede away and join Somalia, or even be an independent country. So Addis has got so many groups of countries that want to move away. The Oromo group feels like Addis is actually the headquarters. That is the heart of their country. So there's much more, of course, a government that decided to be quite hard on the people. And it's so funny that in 2 years, the Prime Minister was celebrated, or rather received a Nobel Prize, and just 24 months later on, we are now thinking of actually charging him for crimes against humanity. That just tells you how Africa is fluid. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, but on the other hand, again, the Tigrans have actually claimed that Abiy has marginalized them and mistreated them as a government. Is that true then?
It depends. You see, context is king, and it depends from where you look at it from. You see, if they really were marginalized, they would not have that kind of military power, might, and strength and resources to even be able to push the ENDF, the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, from Mekele, and now they are marching on to Addis. They're not. It's just, from where I sit, I feel they were used to being in control. And you look at how this thing began, is that they resisted the elections. Abiy decided that Ethiopia, as opposed to having political parties that are regional, you know, even in Kenya, people have tried to do that. Of course, some parties are technically regional. Like I was looking at Ford Kenya's list that went to RPP from Bomas, and it's not just even a Luya party; it's predominantly Bokusu. So Abiy was trying to build a nation out of what he inherited, because initially what he used to have is that the Tigray region will have its own political party, and then the others. So every region coming up with its political party. So he decided, of course, probably without using wisdom, that there would be only national parties, and he pushed in there being just one party, and the Tigray party refused. And they could not participate in the elections, and there was all manner of shenanigans, and that is what has brought us here, trying to ensure that we do not have balkanized political parties. So at least the current impasse began from that particular point, even though there are underlying issues, long-term underlying issues of a central government that sometimes hasn't really cared about the regions. But for the Tigray region, it was simply them refusing that they cannot fold up a Tigray-specific political party. And Abiy insisted that they will have a national party. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Abundu boss.
Yes.
Habari yake?
Good morning.
Good morning to you. How have you been?
I'm fine.
Matupotelea pia kidogo, sijui ulikuwa umeenda wapi?
No, we've been on the campaign trail, rigorous campaigns.
Did you say rigorous? Okay.
Rigorous campaigns as NC party. We've been up and down the country. We were in Githurai, we were in Thika, we were in Nyeri, we've been all over. We've been on the mountain. We've been in Western. We've been in the Fort Kenya NDC. It's unfortunate that my friend says that it is not even a Luya, but
it's a Bukusu.
They have a name.
Some people are saying it was a Bukusu cultural festival at Boma.
They have members of parliament even in Kisii. In
how many?
Yes, the current CS was elected on Fort Kenya. So Fort Kenya has governors, has senator, has MPs across, has MCAs in Kwale. As even the Kisumu Town West MP Olago, he's a Fort Kenya person, you know. He won on Fort Kenya, so it's not a party for what are they called, for Bukusu. But apart from that, I've also been following. Yes, the other day I was at Buruburu Girls because I'm an educational influencer. I've worked at NAT headquarters. I was at Buruburu Girls to assess the situation. Then I went to Kakamega High School. I taught at Kakamega High School for many years, so I had to go and see really the dorms, what happened at the school. While I was there, Maranda was burning, Nyamira Boys was burning, many other schools were burning. So we were trying to come up with a list of what's really happening and what can be done about it. What's wrong with our schools? Maybe in the course of the show, maybe you'll allow me at one point
of course,
to say
I think that's even what you're going to start off with. And I mean, it's something that it's almost seasonal.
When was he in Kakamega School?
I taught at Kakamega School from 19... Also, people may guess my age, but I started teaching there in 1994.
Why do you fear about your age? You're not a woman.
Yeah, 1994. I left Kenyatta University in 93. 94, I was already teaching at Kakamega School. I left Kakamega School in 1998 when Oliver Minish, the principal for... the teacher for drama arrived because I was the main drama thespian in the school. So I went to Kipsiki's Girls where I became a powerhouse at the Kiperians. From there I came to Kisumu Boys where I mentored people like Eric Omondi. I was at Chemelil Academy where I did work with people like Willis Raburu. These are my products in drama world.
Asa drama umeleta kwa siasa sasa.
No.
Sinema.
But ANC kuna watu wa sinema
wengi. Nilisikia siku ingine agriport kutoka Meru wanasema umati wa watu.
And it was just him and Malala and some three guys.
You know, we came to discover that propaganda kills, you know, because in Meru, Musalia was received by the governor himself. The governor of Meru himself received him. And no, but there were many people. We had us. In fact, that meeting was organized by the governor. It was a meeting for all stakeholders, and it was a town hall meeting. It was not even a rally. But after that, we did a road show, which was well attended. But now, media and propagandists from Tangatanga and Jubilee Kieleweke and these other fellows decided to ignore us.
But Bitok, you should also ask him, if he was received by the governor, probably that statement he's speaking about is the statement that has been said in the future, at least not on the day they were there, because at least we never saw the governor. And it was not Tangatanga that was holding the cameras, that refused to show the multitude.
But even Amunga, who was holding the camera himself, could not show us the crowd.
He couldn't show us the crowd. There is a book, but they are written by, I'm forgetting who the author is, but I think I did it in high school, called Amezidi.
Amezidi.
He had alikuwa na umati ambao yeye peke yake
Ndiye alikuwa anaona.
Usiokuwepo, alikuwa na governor wa Meru asiyekuwepo.
I urge our listeners to just click on Musalia Mudavadi Facebook page and Twitter account and see and just click Musalia in Meru and see the crowd.
Musalia in Meru.
Just one.
We look for the picture. Producer ndafutia hapa Musalia in Meru.
Yes. Please produce and post it.
Forget
that Photoshop. Forget that.
Ama tuzime video yako. Hiyo ndio rahisi.
Yeah, even video yangu hiyo si mbaya. Si mbaya. That was the arrival. Even that video clip was taken when the chopper was landing.
Yeah.
You see that? But after the chopper had landed is when the governor put out a red carpet to welcome Musalia.
Ala, kwa
So
kiwanja.
me, I only did the arrival of the chopper. That's what my video clip shows. It doesn't show now what follows after the
What
chopper
followed
has
now
landed.
was the real thing.
Now that was the real thing.
Why did you take it? Why didn't you take what the real thing?
Now I did, but media chose to only pick this one of mine and ignored the main
You see,
thing.
Mwalimu here, Mwalimu is being very interesting.
Yes.
For the simple reason that, number one, of course, he has realized that propaganda cannot work. So he's moved on to the predecessor of propaganda, which we now call PM, not public management as we did it in political science, but PM now as a science that mixes both marketing, propaganda, and all the other elements. So he is now manufacturing his own truth, which he can now manage in case it falls away. Because the other day when he actually did the video, it was difficult because there was the real truth.
Now it's time to pick the
No, he's manufacturing his own truth. If it falls apart, he will be like, okay, I can manage that because at least he manufactured this one.
I have video clips. I ran several blogs. The visit in Meru by Musalia was the most successful visit that we have ever had. Musalia was just the other day in Githurai. I think he had the biggest crowd that has been seen in Githurai. But you see, ODM and Tangatanga will not want us to see that. They own some of these media houses. When you see some of these media houses have clearly aligned themselves on whom they support. Unfortunately, we don't have a media house that is aligned to us fully as OCA. Maybe as days go by, we may convince one. Maybe this one we are in may start also giving ANC and OCA.
We are giving everyone a cover.
Time.
You know one thing?
We're giving everyone time.
A principal in OCA, or is it OGA,
OCA
owns
Okay.
a media house that actually has got a group of media in our platforms. So it is not true that OCA or that other name do not have media that actually supports them. The others, I just don't know about Mudavadi, but I also know that Kalonzo Musyoka also has got a media house that is related to him.
Yes.
So it's not true that I think it's only UDA that does not have a media that supports them. They have no media that they own. But in OCA they have
They only have Facebook. These guys. They only go live on Facebook.
As in they have got God and then social media. And when we talk about social media, we're talking about the people. But OCA has got a whole media group plus its attendant group or rather branches. Two principals have that. Actually, three, because I know Wetangula also has got a media house.
Allah? Wetangula has a media house?
Yes, so Kalonzo, Wetangula, and Gideon Moi have got a media. All of them have got media houses that are actually related to them. But William Ruto has no media house. If you look at all the other people who support him, they don't have it. UDA and the Hustler Nation have nothing. They have themselves. And because they are a majority, that is why it's all over. But these guys, even with owning media houses, they are struggling.
Are you sure?
Are
you sure about the word struggling? Is not a good word.
That's why they have to manufacture propaganda like the one he was doing that day. So talking about umati usiokuwepo, carpet ama zulia jekundu lisilokuwepo, Governor Kiraito ambaye hakukuwepo, as in creating things.
Surely, Arnold, you cannot say. Surely, I'm sure you can use your phone just to Google. And
I went to Kakamega school after he left. So he should have been my teacher.
They would have killed you.
At least I'm saying I came in after he left.
I'll have caned you. But I'll have caned you to show you how to use your phone and how to use your laptop and how not to be so dependent on propaganda and rumors. Kiraito Murungi, you just need to Google. the meeting he organized, the town hall
Was
meeting.
he at the Est
He
when you
was-
guys landed?
He was his minister, not even just himself, his cabinet.
He sent his spirit.
His cabinet was also present. KTN covered it even better than I did, with better cameras.
But you're saying you don't have media.
Yeah, but you
And
see,
you're saying you don't have media.
but you see, at the end of the day, a propaganda house or a group will not choose to ignore that kind of thing and go for this other kind of so that they can discredit. Anyway, going back to what I was really talking about. Musalia Mudavadi has really been on the road. The Oka team, we want really to congratulate them for sticking together. Despite all the words that we have heard, despite all the rumors that we have been hearing around, Oka continues to soldier on. Oka, as Kalonzo spoke the other day, he said, it is not just going to be the kingmaker. It is actually the king. Because you only need to be a person who really needs to think about the politics of this country to realize that without, for example, Western, without Ukambani, without the block that comes in with Oka, Raila cannot win. And he can climb the mountain 1,000,000 times. He can go there and come back, go to the mountain and come. If the Luhya vote does not go for Raila Odinga, if the Kamba vote, which has always been getting, does not go to him, he is not winning this election. That is the end game. When we go to the Tangatanga side, the one reason why there's a lot of money and mobilization going on by Tangatanga in Kakamega, in Shinyalu, in Huisero, in Homsalaba, Shibinga, all my villages, the Tangatanga principal is touring my village. He was in my village.
What is the problem with that? What is the problem with that?
And
we are a unitary
and
country.
we are wondering, I was in the village, I was wondering, what is Tangatanga coming to do in my village? But they are coming, and they're trying to whip emotions that we are hustlers. In Kakamega, we are not hustlers.
Everyone
in
is rich.
Kakamega, we are not hustlers. We are farmers, we are teachers, we are Kenyans, we are a thriving society. If given the opportunity to work, we can thrive. So we are not hustlers. But you see, what we are seeing is the Tangatanga spirit, Tangatangering around in Western province. And the reason is because the Tangatanga spirit knows without Western, they are going nowhere. They can't win an election. I hear today they are in Kisumu. I don't know, Kisumu, of course, they'll get nothing. But without Western, Tangatanga cannot win. Same to Raila Odinga. Now, imagine Adu Kambani. Imagine if what Gideon Moy also is bringing on the table. And imagine what Jirongo will be doing. And for your information, what you people may not be knowing, very soon, Amason Kingi, Joho, the Joho man who keeps singing with the Raila, and the Muslim world are joining Oka.
So what is Gideon Moy bringing?
Gideon Moy brings to us a vast of experience. He brings to Oka a name that has led this country, a name. The Bible says, lose anything, but not the name. The name that Gideon Moy brings is a big name. Gideon Moy brings to the table, as the Arnold Maliba, my student, has just said, brings to the table what we call power of the media, that is a very important tool. And so, according to me, and apart from that, he also brings a lot of strength. He has shown that he's a team player. Despite all the rumors that have surrounded that he'll bolt out, he'll go, I don't know, to Baba, we have seen him remain. And the other day, he held a big rally in Kericho, which was covered at least by KTN. Of course, these other media houses tried to ignore. And he did a big rally. We saw the crowds come out. And Gideon Moy is hitting all the right chords. And we support you, sir. Congratulations, Gideon.
I actually need to probably be given some room to respond. But before I do that, I'll just like to set this particular conversation as it is in law. Article 38 of the Constitution of Kenya says that every citizen is free to make political choices which include the right to form and participate in forming of a political party, to participate in the activities of or recruit members for a political party, or to campaign for a political party or cause. 2, every citizen has got the right to free, fair, and regular elections based on universal suffrage and free expression of the will of the electors for a elective public body or office established under this constitution, or any office of any political party of which the citizen is a member, I don't want to go to 3 and 4, but I need to say this. When Mwalimu here says that he's surprised why William is actually in his village going around and doing that, Mwalimu has deliberately chosen to be ignorant. I'm talking about deliberately chosen to be ignorant of what the Constitution actually says. That all of us, when they were in Meru, why didn't Munya ask what they were doing there? Why didn't Linturi ask what Mudavadi was doing there? All of us, we cannot balkanize this country to a place where we have zoned out some areas, and we are talking about you can't come to this area or the other one. All of us people, wherever you are, whoever you are, so long as you are a Kenyan, by birth, by choice, or by anything, in the city we always talk about you either by bus or by birth. You are allowed to make any choices, including to run anywhere. Therefore, William is just as justified to be in Kakamega the way Mudavadi is justified to be in Taita or to be in Meru, where we saw him with an existing crowd. Now,
It was not
let's talk
about
about
crowd. That one I've dismissed.
Let's talk about
that
number.
one.
Let's talk about then going forward. First of all, it is not true that Mudavadi controls Western. If Mudavadi controlled Western, there will be no need for Wetangula. And the reason why Wetangula continues to be
another bad mistake.
very important.
If Uhuru
Let
controlled
him finish.
Let him finish.
Do you know why Wetangula is still relevant? And why he still shows up on the table up there, even though he
and
now...
Chirongo, don't forget.
Even though I don't want to talk about Jirongo, even though he has got a party that once upon a time was a national movement, has now receded to become just a sub-tribe political party, to a level where that party will soon become an NGO, and some NGOs are actually better than Ford Kenya as we speak. This is the reason that the Luya dynamics are actually very difficult. I am one by birth, but I'll tell you this, that Luya dynamics are very difficult. Otherwise, Uhuru would not end up sitting with Wetangula and Mudavadi in the same room if it is easy, because for Luo Nyanza, you just have got Raila. And sometimes even when Raila sits there, many other Kenyans who are not necessarily Luos feel represented. So,
Madiba started by quoting the Constitution.
Let him finish,
Well,
then you'll get
that you have a right.
You'll get
Weta
time.
has
You'll
a
get
right.
time to
yes, he
respond.
has.
Isaac has a
Now,
right.
now we are talking about real politics.
You'll get back.
We're talking about real politics here. So, at any particular time, if you, and it's simple, by the way, I just need to shock you that the Bokusu constitute 30% of the Luya vote. And if you do away with the Trans Nzoia, because Trans Nzoia is then in Rift Valley, then it's Kakamega and Bungoma that form 75 of Kenya's, of Luya polity, or rather the Luya numbers. So, what am I trying to say? When speaking about Western, I can tell you that William Ruto will actually get at least 50% of all the votes that will be cast in Western plus one vote. 50 plus one vote.
Okay.
And then Mudavadi will get at least 25 to 30% of the votes. Then Raila can share with everybody else whatever is left. But William will get a majority of the votes. In Western, the Luya vote, William will receive. And I'll tell you this, Luyas are not divided. Luyas love a strong leader. That is why in the days of Mudavadi's father, Luyas supported Mudavadi's father to a man. They didn't care what sub-tribe he comes from. We have got 18 sub-tribes as Luyas. In the days of Masinde Muliro, people didn't care that he was a Bukusu. He was a strong leader and people will stand with him. Wamalwa Kijana the same. It is during Mudavadi's reign now as a kingpin, when he came of age, that then we lost leadership, because in 2002, when Kanu left, when Kanu lost, Mudavadi refused to go to parliament. That is a mistake, a big blunder he did. Even though Kanu had nominated him, he decided to go back to school. It was a good choice for self-development. But politically, he lost his people. And that then opened up room for Raila to come in. And the Luyas were actually very magnanimous. They said, if we do not have one of our own son being so strong, he has decided to go and repair and work on himself. But we have got a neighbor's son who is also actually related to us. Because whereas Luyas arrived in Kenya, present-day Kenya, in the year 7 BC, Luos came here from 15 and 1600 BC. So we've lived together for about 400 years. So we are relatively very good neighbors. So they said, why not pick from a neighbor's place?
But understand Raila is a Luya.
Well, that is
Madiba, you've talked for some time.
That's besides the point. I need to actually finalize that. But I've just addressed one issue of the so many issues we touched on. I'm talking about the Luhya vote. So, moving forward, then you realize that Luhyas chose to stand with the strongest person who is around.
Was bad.
You saw the other day a research done that is the place where in this country it's more expensive to do politics. I think it was by TIFA. That the most expensive place to do politics is in Western and Nyanza. Do you know why it's expensive? It's because of the degree of poverty. So it is one thing to say that in Kakamega, where my great-grandfather lived and died and my people fought and lived, that we are teachers and we are everything else. Today as we speak in Kakamega, the engine that used to run the entire Western, that is Mumias Sugar Company. You know, you just need, your parent didn't need to pay fees. Like my father just showed up with a promissory note from Mumias Sugar that we will pay. He is a farmer. He has got a contract with us. We will pay. And the school honors. You go to school and you finish your school. Mumias at some point was worth 300 billion worth of an economy. And I'm talking about in the days of old. It's dead. Everything in Western is dead. The sugar sector is dead. The tea sector is
solutions.
dead.
We are aware. Your solution is Tanga.
Tobacco is dead.
We are aware.
You are not aware.
We are aware.
If you are aware, you will not be saying that our people are thriving when our people are suffering.
We are aware.
So typically, a typical Luhya is a hustler. I didn't want to use the word sufferer, but Luhyas are actually suffering. I don't want to call them sufferers.
Strugglers.
They cannot be strugglers. When we talk about them being hustlers, it's that ni watu wa kujituma.
Wanajituma, wanatafuta.
They are all over this country. The best fundi is a Luhya you will actually get. The best person who can take care of your child is a Luhya. The best security people in this country
That's
are
why we call
Luhyas.
them thriving.
They are everywhere trying to work, but there is no enabling environment. And they very
Because
much
of
feel...
Ruto.
They Ruto were not born when Mudavadi was here. Mudavadi was brought in by Moi, and being a Moi protege plus the Moi that you have, the name that you really want to put there, that is the one man that brought this country down for 24 years. So speaking about the Luhyas, from wherever they are, by the way, the truth is that it ticks. That's why when William does not have to go to Western, he just have to get there and greet them. I will be addressing some of the points he raised earlier, much later on, but I've just addressed the Luhya part of it. The Luhya will be voting for William largely, at least 50% plus one vote William will get from Western Kenya and Trans Nzoia, and the Luhyas that are in Nairobi. I'm talking about 1.2 million Luhyas in Nairobi. Honestly, in Nairobi we have suffered enough. Every time Luhyas support ODM, Luhyas are the second most populous people in Nairobi. And they do not get equal numbers of MCS and MPs. Yet Luhyas are number 4 in Nairobi, and they have got more MPs and more MCS in Nairobi than what? Than Luhyas.
Akanyara kanga, wacha nikudishe shule kwanza kabla ujaingia kwa siasa. What's going on in schools?
Yeah, of course, the statistics that Madiba have given are wrong.
Tuende kwanza kwa shule alafu utarudi hapo.
You know, when he is used to propaganda, when he meets data, he starts to suffer.
Avaluya, Tanga is not giving us a governor in Nairobi. Tanga is not giving us an MP. They have not given us any name of
6.
MP. But let's go
is
to
giving Luhyas in Nairobi 6 members of parliament, and it's giving them 30 MCS.
All right.
That is on target and it's on promise.
Now, in schools,
right.
The issue in schools is a very sad affair. Actually, even if you research and you Google, you discover that it is in Kenya, and I think only in Kenya, that we have schools, learners banning dormitories, a dorm where they sleep. And the question that Kenyans must start by asking themselves is, why are they banning dorms? They're not banning the library. In fact, it's very rare to hear that they have banned a classroom. They ban the dorm. So by banning the dorm, there is a message they are sending. And you see, you need to have people in leadership who can think beyond just, appearing on TV and making statements. You need people who can put their heads together and reason like this. Why are they banning dorms? There must be a problem in the dorm. Yeah. So the dorm represents, in a school situation, because we've been in these schools, represents the boarding facilities. Okay. It represents students staying in school and learning from school. The missionaries who began boarding schools in this country did it because many of our people were not living in an enabled environment, the kind of environment that my brother was talking about. The environment was bad. Many were coming from pastoralist homes. Some were nomadic. So the issue of a boarding school was brought about because it was to bring these children together from various backgrounds so that they can now stay together and be taught in a certain way. Most of these schools that began by the missionaries, I'm talking about Alliance, I'm talking about the big missionary schools, they were brought up to be boardings also because they wanted to inculcate the Christian values. They were run by either Catholic. I went to Nyeri High School. When I went to that school those years, the school was run by a Catholic father. They were fathers, Catholics, running the school. So it had also that missionary, that Christian element in it. Now came government, got independence. We tried to balance between the Mzungu, the colonial mentality, and what now we are bringing as Africans. Then came a man by the name Matiang'i. Now, Matiang'i, to me, is actually overrated, especially when it comes to education. Because when he became the Minister for Education, he's the one who came up with most of the reforms that we hear about in our schools. One of the things he did, and if you can recall, and I'm hoping on this one we're not going to go into propaganda, we're going to go to use to tell people the truth, is that Matiang'i will walk around schools and intimidate principals, intimidate teachers. Why was this? Why are you not doing this? And those video clips were doing rounds, and they have been doing rounds. They're still on TikTok even. I saw one on TikTok the other day. He'll enter school unannounced and declare that the principal is not doing anything. The teachers are not teaching. There's absenteeism in schools. And so he came up with something called the Matiang'i rules, reforms. They started with the exams. They started saying that, Matiang'i started saying that you cannot just get an A. An A is a very hard thing to get. So he decided that A will be very hard to get. So students who are in schools like Kabarak in Mangu you could get out of a class of 300 students, 200 are getting A's. The whole country, the time Matiang'i picked up, the whole country, there were only 114 A's. Reason? He made sure he did everything possible to stop you from getting an A. Then he went into other reforms called, now he wanted to manage the Teacher Service Commission. He began something called delocalization, whereby if you are a principal of, say, Mangu, but let me use schools like Kakamega High, Chavakali High, Maranda Boys, the principals, the homegrown principals, some of them old boys in those schools, who had come up and helped those schools, shaped them into be what they were now transferred to other regions, some even to northern Kenya. From Kakamega High School, where I was teaching, Oliver Minish was transferred from Kakamega High, taken to Nanyuki High School. Kai Ndimuli, who was at Chavakali Boys, was taken to Machakos Boys. Others were taken to more junior schools. Now, more than that, he came up with something called TPAD. I listen as TPAD is a situation whereby a monitoring situation. Now, this monitoring situation, Matiang'i made it such a way that a student in your class ticks when you come in, when you go out. If a teacher comes in dressed badly, there is a place, a box. Mwanafunzi anatik, badly dressed, not shaven, has not combed his hair.
A big eye.
Red eyes, came late. Those comments now were inculcated into the teaching fraternity. The man who could fight that and who tried to fight that was a friend of mine whom I worked with at the NAT headquarters by the name Wilson Arab Sosion. But the system is a system. These things were put on teachers and classrooms. And me, as AMUNGA, I began a campaign. If you search, Google me, you'll see a campaign called, I told teachers, teach and go home. Hii mambo ya kukaa kwa shule, mnachunga watoto, alafu tena you are victimized. Because we became the victims. Learners were given higher power than teachers. They were monitoring how we come to school, what time we come in, what we do. So teachers now have taken a back seat. Teachers are now listening and watching what the children do.
They are listening to the ground.
And when we are told at corporal punishment will come back, I don't know, teachers, we were even told if you cane a student, we were dismissed from service. So teachers were not even allowed to punish. Punishment became, we were even taken to court. Many of our colleagues have lost jobs. At the NAT headquarters, we have letters and letters of teachers who have been dismissed because of trying to punish a child. We can't punish them. We can't touch them. They were given power by Matiang'i Fred, the current minister for Interior, to make sure that they were ahead of us. So our work in schools as teachers became only teaching, and we go where?
You go home.
We go home. Hakuna story hiyo ulionanga ati mwalimu ako CU, sijui mwalimu ako sijui drama, sijui anafanyisha watoto sijui games. That kind of stuff, many teachers stopped because it was a way to take you to disciplinary with Teacher Service Commission. We were delocalized, we were dismissed. Our unions, NAT and KUPPET, were made kind of government projects. Leaders who are strong were removed. So these are the chickens coming back home to roast. What you are seeing our children doing in schools is because those teachers who used to maintain them in school have no longer that time. And in fact, they have been told now to go back to school to learn. So teachers are now also being told you have not even learned enough. We are doing more of clerical in those schools than teaching. And so schools are at the hands of your children. And we are telling Magoha, if you want schools to be schools, toa boarding kwa walimu. Employ nurses, yaya, maids, employ anybody to run your boarding schools. Teachers will not run boarding schools because we are not trained to be housekeepers and house servants and maids to pamper your children. Your children, if they are going to, you tell your government, if they want, the way we do it in the university, let there be a doorkeeper, gateman, who are run differently from the principal. The work of teachers and the principal in a school will be to teach and go home. Hii kazi ingine yote, Magoha na hiyo vitu yenyu yote, andikeni watu kazi, chaplain, hakuna mtu wasi, coaches to coach football and anything else. But teachers will only do what they were trained in the university, which is to teach and go home.
All right. So what's the turnaround? How do we fix this?
We are fixing this by telling our government.
Because if I'm telling
the
teachers to boycott.
Yeah, not to boycott, to do what they were called to do.
Okay.
A lawyer does not go to court to also become the prison warden, to take people to the prison again, to take care of them there. So all we are telling the government, you've gotten your policies wrong. Your boarding schools, they are banning dorms because you've put teachers in charge of this many children. And there are very few teachers. We don't have many teachers. Kakamega School has how many teachers? I was told there are 57 teachers in a school of 3,000 and something learners. Buruburu Girls has 30-something teachers in a big group. So all we are telling parents, boarding schools cannot be run by teachers. Those children are now ahead of us. They know more than us. They think ahead of us. We are not trained to be policemen. Let Magoha employ policemen to take care of their children in their dorms. Let him employ housekeepers, counselors, people, all these kind of people, housekeepers, who are trained professionally on how to make sure, even matrons, even nurses, even food nutritionists, to take care of the meals of those children. But now what's happening in boarding schools, the principal of Miranda is wanting to make sure that children get an A. At the same time, he's running a boarding department. And a boarding department is a hard thing to run for a teacher.
Okay. All right.
Remove boarding from teachers. You will see the schools go back to normal. Remove boarding from teachers. Teachers cannot run boarding. Boarding is for professionals. It is housekeeping. It is a professional job. People go to college to learn how to take care of hostels, hotels, and all those kind of things. It cannot be done by teachers.
What do you think, sir?
So, since he's actually the education specialist in the house, I'll just do a lot of responding to, probably contributing to other places where I think that he either left a gap or something that I will say to this. But I will start by saying this, that number one, the changes that we have in the education system, from a policy perspective, I know did not begin entirely with this particular administration. Under the Kibaki administration, we had begun the process to review our curriculum, for example, to review how the education was actually being ruled out and everything around that. So when Matiang'i came in, his management system could have been different, but he never introduced anything entirely new that had not been actually in the pipeline already. Because if you look at for example, in sessional paper number 4 of 2013, on employment creation, one of those things that is actually being spoken about is how to relook at our education. Things that then how we have reworked out in a broader approach to skills development and training, to education skills development and training. There's quite a number of things that have actually been worked on, from TVET to us now facing the competence, going the competence way, away from the merit-based education the way we used to do. Now we are talking about CBC for elementary education, and CBET for guys in colleges. So we were trying to move to where the future of work is taking us. And the future of work is that your papers are actually going to count, and they already are not counting, not for so much. It's about what you can do. You as a media person, you know that a lot of media houses in this country have got their own media schools. You come in, and for 1 year we will actually have to convert you to the journalists that can actually write or even do presentation for us. It's obvious, because probably every media house has got its own media style, in-house style. So everyone is trying to get around that. Google will actually look out for the skills that you have. So whereas academia is important, academia, of course, shouldn't be an end in itself, especially in a place where we're talking about self-actualization and self-realization. So as of Matiang'i rules, I only have got a problem with the way he did it. Quite abrasive, a lot of braggadocio, and pushing around. But literally, those are some of the proposals that had been made in papers that were done by teachers and professionals much earlier on. As of delocalization, there's a reason to that, of course. In evidence, we are doing evidence-based policies. The delocalization policy was just a way of doing away with how schools had become cartelized. Because one thing I have realized that in every sector there's always a cartel. So the education system in itself had become a cartel. So, and one aspect that was giving people problem was that you will find a lot of local problems then spilling into the management of schools. That if you are going to bring in a teacher elsewhere, however competent they are in, then the locals are going to resist that. That in itself wasn't going to help us. It might not have been done well. It might be something that actually needed time to be faced. Where people are used to, there's never a problem. There are a lot of things, like you don't ask people. When I don't know that during your time you guys went to Form 5 and 6, but I'm told during that time it was so common. You would leave and go to another place, and it wasn't a problem because it had taken time, and then it had become the whole country had been socialized to that, and it was accepted. But here, I think there was an instant switch that we wake up today, and this is the way things are supposed to be done. So the transition was quite rushed. Still, about the management aspect, or rather the management style of the CS then. So probably I would want him later on, once I'm done with this, to tell me what a junior school is. When you come off and say that a certain teacher has been taken elsewhere and therefore he's been taken to a junior school. When in essence, you actually are supposed to be a teacher who's helping people, and in whatever facility you are in, it doesn't really matter, because that also speaks to the other bit that I spoke of earlier on, when cartels actually, you go to a school that does not have parks and money and the budget that you used to control, and you never feel that you have been demoted. Your salaries and allowances remain the same, but you are not handling the same budget as it were. Then on the matters of A's, when I went to high school, getting an A was actually very problematic. It doesn't mean that we were necessarily thick. Then sometimes back in 2000s, early 2000s, there was a breakout of A's. He should actually know that. There was a breakout. At some point, I remember Chabakali, boys, had a whole class getting A's.
A whole class getting A's. There was a breakout of A's from 2003. Was dishing out A's.
However, it was working. And then when there was intelligence work done on that, there was a lot of cheating and a lot of exam leaking. You have got so many guys, for example, a lot of very competent teachers who got in their days just a C. But see how they actually are running the institutions they are doing quite competently. Then we have got guys showing up with these modern day A's that Matiang'i, he's actually complaining that Matiang'i was complaining. Guys who literally cannot do anything. So what changed in between? So there is also a reason to why some of those things were actually done. And the breakout of A's was unprecedented. It never was there before, 2003. A lot of it out there. And all of us know what was happening. Then when he speaks about teachers not wanting to be subjected to things like kids responding, in every particular process today, in a proper setup of whatever program you're running in, monitoring and evaluation is important. Feedback, and you get back. You know, we call it MIL, monitoring, evaluation, accountability, and learning, so that we get out to see how things can be, because everything is subject to continuous review and improvement. We are not even Japanese, but the Kaizen principle now approaches, or rather applies everywhere. Then we have got the professionalizing of the teaching fraternity. You know, well, I agree with the TSC when they say that probably teachers need to be assessed, probably after a certain time. But again, the way they are doing it the Matiang'i style. Every job, there is always appraisals that are done. They're basic, to just see if you still understand why you are around here. It's everywhere, because today, the working place, or literally everything, is quite dynamic. Things are moving very fast. So that is okay. But I also disagree with the way they are doing it, that they are trying to force things. And then teachers are very vocal, of course. That is the biggest army of the public service. It's the biggest team. I think now the other team that comes closer to that, I think, are the police officers. But the teachers are the biggest. I mean, they had very good unions, at least when the former, the guy who wants to run in Kericho, I'm forgetting Sosion, was around there ever since the days of Adongo and the other people. They quite did some good work. And the truth is that unions did not mess education. If anything, unions actually improved education. That's true. They actually fought for the welfare of teachers. There were days when this government was shameless and they would just pay teachers 3,000 shillings, 4,000 shillings. So and then a teacher would wake up, go to his farm first, because 30,000 shillings, 5,000 shillings, and 6,000 shillings could not even take care of them. So you go to your farm first and then come to class and leave early, kwenda kuanua mahindi yako. So the unions have done well. But then typical of what happened in the last 9 years has been that Jubilee did not just want unions. They did not want anything in what we call the third sector. Whether it is a media to be independent, unions that can stand alone, anything that could raise up and question policy, the way government was actually administering it, was disbanded. Everything else. Of course, in the long run, teachers are going to actually blame themselves for what they did. TSC is too big, needs to be broken into two parts so that it remains an employer. It cannot be taking care of the HR element and being an employer and also being the same person who's taking care of the professional aspect, being the professional body. TSC needs to be split at least into two, because the quality assurance unit is actually at the ministry. But TSC is so huge, as much as still the same teachers who pushed for TSC. That's why they say sometimes the things you push for, if you don't look at it very well, you need a 360 look at these things before you actually give them. So they brought in TSC and pushed it until we put it in the constitution. Then TSC now is being used to dismantle them and actually now teach teachers a little fear of God. And they really don't like it. Then just as I wind up on that, probably just, I think to say that we should do away with boarding schools, generally to take care of the cases of indiscipline and the infernos, for me it's quite reactionary. Just because we have got accidents on the road, we say then let us do away with cars, because cars are causing accidents.
Or we do away with the road.
There is a gap that boarding schools feel. Can we manage it in a proper way? When kids burn dormitories, it's basic. They are simply burning a place where they sleep so that they go back home. And one time too many, they don't want to go home forever. They just want to go home probably for a week or two and come back. What we are also not addressing at the moment is that ever since COVID came in, we rearranged our academic year. Now, per year we are doing 4 terms, whether you want to call them semesters. They are not even semesters. They should be quadrosters or something like that. We are doing 4 of them. So kids come home for a week and they are back. Sometimes you just come back home on a Thursday and then on Monday you are needed back to school. Teachers, parents are also struggling. It's time the guys at the Ministry of Education also became rational people, because sometimes you look at the way they do policies and policy decisions, and you wonder, do these people live in this country? Are they also parents? Or do they just land in this country in the morning from heaven and then they go back in the evening? So they also need to look at these issues. But lastly, on indiscipline, and I'm actually like, for Kakamega High School, that school has never experienced a fire. Ever since it was established in 1932 by a guy called Harold Arthur Chapman. Up to, I think, this week, that school has never burned.
That's true.
And yet, that is the school that gave us people like Ted Malanda in Standard Group, the school that gave us Modi Awori, the school that gave us the current king, my king, the Wanga king, Peter Mumia, the school that gave us Yusuf Chanzu, Marende,
hustlers like Boni Khalwale,
then Najib Balala, CS Najib Balala, for example, and quite a lot of people. As in, that is the powerhouse of academia in the West. There is that school in Bungoma that calls itself Friends School Kamsinga, but the proper place is still the Government African School Kakamega. So even as you look at it, let me just wind up with that. So the point is, for me, is that we also need to look at some of this. The biggest issue is parenting. Parents outsourced parenting to schools. Okay. We are bringing up brats and we don't want to be told. We are bringing up very indisciplined children and we do not want to be told. We know, this kababa thing and kamama thing has been around for quite a while. Now, the last respectful generation in this country was Generation Y, even though they had their own challenges, because every generation has got its own. Yes. No, Generation Z does live in because Generation Z does proper, the Generation Z, people born after 1996, are the people who were born after Kalonzo decided as the Minister for Education that there will be no caning. Now, these are the guys who have grown under that teachers should know their space.
It's Kalonzo decided that?
He is not even saying anything else yet. He was the CS. He was the minister, not CS. He was the minister then when they outlawed caning. So can we also talk to ourselves? The problem in the education sector, especially around children, is not entirely something to do with the teachers and the system and everything else. It is also to do with us as a society. Children they say an apple does not fall away from the tree. A reflection of the society. So parenting is actually at the core of the problems we have is parenting. Because kids will come out and then when you go home, the teachers try to say, no, that is how he is. How he is. You look at these kids coming out here and no one wants to call out some of these kids. And we have got very disciplined kids amongst them. So what kind of society do we want tomorrow? That a society that struggled, brought up responsible people like Mwalimu here. But now people who are educated like Mwalimu and people who are traveled are now bringing up brats, people who cannot defend this country. It's not fair. We also need to talk to ourselves. We need a national dialogue to talk to ourselves as a society on parenting.
He has spoken very well. And I agree with him on a number of things, especially on the one of parenting. I think he has a point. Yes, it's being discussed. But you see, I'm zeroing down on the boarding school. Boarding. These children don't burn our houses at home. We have he's calling them brats in our homes. When did you hear them? They have burnt your house or somebody's house in Kileleshu at a child.
Because they know you'll break their legs.
They're killing each other.
When did you hear that a child went to the supermarket and burned somebody's car? It is happening in the boarding school. So let us remain there, the boarding school. And I am saying, yes, there are issues that our society has issues. Boni Khalwale, the chief hustler in Kakamega, is known to throw stones in Kibra when there's an election. And he's also a parent at Kakamega High School and Alliance High School. So when children burn and throw stones at Kakamega High School, Boni Khalwale, chief hustler, my brother, my friend, I can't leave you out. As a parent, you have seen and you trend on social media throwing stones.
But I think what will stop that is being too narrow.
What will stop your child also throwing stones in Kakamega High School? Now let me continue.
Teachers have been singing and rioting. Yes. What stops children from rioting?
So what we are saying is this, dear listeners and our friends on the media. The boarding school is where the problem is. And the boarding school, this banning of schools didn't start yesterday. It didn't even start because of the removing of the cane by whoever. It didn't start when this has been going on for some time now. Even when those times we were getting those A's, it used to reach second term and schools start burning their dorms. The dorm doesn't burn because of just these children. which school was this? Was this Friends School Kamsinga, where the children burnt a dorm last year, just when they went back to school in Sigalame, I think. They burnt the school because teachers in the staff room were watching their TV donated to them by a politician. There was a football game going on, Liverpool or something like that, Man United something. So teachers, the children had come to the teachers and said, "Mutupatie TV this afternoon, we watch our game." Teachers said, no, hapana. Now, yes. So kumbe, the children discovered Allah. They are denying us to watch TV.
And they are
watching the same TV in the staff room. They banned the school. Just because of that. Riot started and they banned that school. The issue is this. Remove us teachers from bringing up your children. Let us just teach them. Watch out. Vile Madiba amesema vizuri sana. I like what he has said, something about parenting. Do you know what, Madiba? Those parents have changed their parenting roles
They
to
have
us.
outsourced.
Yeah. So they've brought it to the teachers. Wanasema watoto tu wametuchosha, shule zifunguke warudi shule.
Waende shule.
Yeah. Do you know
So
why
they're pushing the problems to school.
They're pushing it to school. And to school, it means who? Mwalimu wa Munga. Mimi niko na wangu pia nataka kulea. Mimi pia niko na watoto wangu. So I am telling listeners and parents. You as parents,
wewe wako unavunjanga wako nyumbani.
Niko na watoto wangu pia.
Unawavunjanga?
Wengine ni ni wa ajabu. Wanaweza kuwa wananisikiza, wanaweza.
Unawavunjanga?
Kupiga
unawalimanga za zingine.
Nikiwapiga watanipiga. So what I can say is this, my brother. The parenting role is what is lacking in this country. And we can't change it, Arnold, because our parents are hustlers. They are out there hustling like you.
We can change.
No, these parents are so hustling.
If we empower,
they are never.
If we empower parents, they will actually have disposable income. They will have time to rest, and they will probably become better parents. But let us say this: we should not blame poverty for everything. Our ancestors were poor. Our ancestors will go hunting. They still will go to their farms. Yeah. Some of them will travel and trade. I'm talking about in the days of old. And they still brought up people who are resilient. We are bringing up kids that are not resilient. We are bringing up kids that do not have patience and understanding. Where, schools, just like universities, are supposed to be nurseries of logic and reason. But schools and universities have turned into nurseries of isms, where everything, as in we have got a lot of extremism and a lot of other isms coming up. Yeah. So it is an issue of parenting, even as we want to run away from it. Yeah. And we must speak to each other, and we must not blame anything. They say a bad workman blames his tools. Yes. So the blame is to the parents. There's a blame there. You are putting a blame. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So the blame is on the parents. We should not blame poverty and hustling and other things. No, hustling means they are out there looking for food. Yeah. So they reach a place, most of the time, I see even on where I live, watu wanaamuka at 4, kwanza vile kafi imetoka, people are waking up at 4, 3 a.m. to start looking for their daily bread. That's what I meant by hustling. But what I wanted to say, we teachers will not take up parenting roles. Parenting, hiyo ni kazi yenyu wazazi, kina Arnold mnazaza, chungeni watoto wenyu huko. Mimi sitakuwa mwalimu na tena nianze kulea watoto wenyu. I will be a teacher. And I'm telling teachers who are listening to me this morning, teach and go home. Wacha Matiang'i na huyo mwenzake huyo Magoha watafute polisi wa kulinda shule, watafute counselors wa kulea watoto, waandike mates wa kukaa na watoto kwa dorm. That way our dorms will not have a problem. But when you select me, Amunga, to be a boarding master, to take care about your children, I will not. I will teach what I was taught in KU and go back to my house in Maradaima. Tosha gari.
You are not you are not taught to be a boarding master.
I was not taught to be a boarding master, to cook, to mentor children who have come from funny families. That's not my work.
He's also not being real when he says that the elements, because education is not a standalone component. There are support pillars to the education system. Because even if you came to a class to teach, and kids probably wherever they've come from, they've not slept well, they've not eaten well, you will still not even deliver as a teacher. So it's an ecosystem. It is an ecosystem. And I know there are people who've gone to school and they learn education management and stuff. And by the way, teachers don't cook for students. teachers they are
Amekaranga sana. Amunga amekaranga.
Amunga is mixing up things and
Amunga
actually
he takes the word cooking literally. Sometimes let us also just be a bit in the gist. I'm not talking about cooking literally. When now you make me and I've been a boarding master.
When he says that we should look for police officers, they are watchmen. We are talking about
do you know what time
watchmen
who are in school? Please. Do you know what time a teacher on duty wakes up? Do you know the other day in Matiang'i rules it was put clearly, when a school burns, the first suspect, it's in the rules of Matiang'i, is the teacher on duty that evening. Teachers on duty are told, and teachers know what I'm saying. Forget what Kina Maliba are saying. Those are guys who are in school and they don't know how a school runs. You as a teacher, when a fire breaks out in your school, hakuna mtu ata arrest watchman. You are the first suspect. Where were you? You write a report. You are interdicted. You are removed. I have worked at NATED quarters. We have handled cases where teachers have been literally told, don't step here anymore. You are a suspect. Even these things you see about our teachers, you sleep with young girls. Most of it's new uvumi, because we are the ones who stay with our children. Your children in our schools for long. We are blamed for all these misdemeanors and all these mistakes that happen in schools. Any responsibility, the buck stops with the teacher and the principal in a school. Whether he's a cook, whether he's not the matron, the buck stops at you as the principal's desk. I can tell you this for free. More Nairobi girls, was it Mrs. Kinyanjui? Madam did not light the fire. Madam paid for it. She even had to be checked into a hospital because they touted her on media. They talked about this teacher until she left her job and said, I cannot continue being that teacher after a dome burned at Moi Nairobi Girls. So the buck does not stop with the cook. In fact, the moment the fire occurs, nobody even knows there's a cook in that school. And by the way, Maliba, those liters of fuel that you see burning schools don't come in through even students. It is these people you are calling this subordinate staff.
Even teachers actually we know cases where teachers have brought drugs into school. So teachers cannot be the angels and everybody else is the devil.
We also know, if you talk like that, in every whatever there will be some rotten.
Yes,
even in our politics.
That will be the best way to actually
in our executive. But what I'm trying to say is this. The people who are perpetuating most of this thing are actually students in conjunction with even suppliers in schools. Maybe you used to supply bread, maybe just machungwa. Then the new principal comes in. He has come with this. He comes from Baringo. He gets a supplier from Baringo to bring bread to Kakamega High School, all the way. The fellows who have been supplying bread in Kakamega, they team up with a few people in the cooks and a few even students. And they say, this new principal has now brought in a new supplier to supply mattresses. So they ban, not because they are banning because it's now business interests. So all these things come into play. That's why we are saying, don't give mwalimu to be the one in charge of looking for tender ya watu wa kuleta mkate, ya watu wa kuleta maziwa kwa shule, ya nini. Kama vile ARNOLD amesema, parents will go to the principal and say, I have taken my sugar cane to Mumias. They will, let us not use that. Mambo ya fee collection should not even be the work of a teacher. Let fee be collected by the Ministry of Education.
The bazaar.
It should not even be part of us. We are not trained. I want to repeat.
That particular bit, that is why I'm having a problem with Mwalimu. This exceptionalism where teachers are, first of all, they are dirt proof. Nothing sticks on them. Two, teachers are, as in this helicopter mentality, that teachers will just land in and teach and then go out. No, teachers are not working in a vacuum.
It's a profession.
Yes, it's a profession.
Like law.
And
like a lawyer going to court.
That is why we have got the bench.
He goes to sit.
And then what do we have? We have got the bar.
The judge, yeah.
So we have got the bar, we have got the bench.
And the dock.
Then we have got the legislator. You can be a very good lawyer, but you can hate politicians as much as you love, but they have got the right
to make
and
rules.
the place to make rules. All these things are interconnected.
But
teachers cannot divorce. Yes, they interfere with each other at some point, because we are also not going to pretend that we live in a place where things can be such, like we are about 5 people in this particular room now, that things can actually be done in a way where we don't touch on each other.
No, there's interdependence.
So
that one is
is
there.
very important. So you can't move away
That
and
one is
say
there.
that the problem we have here is purely because teachers have been left to do some of these things. It's not that teachers are less boarding masters. Some of those people have actually become legends for what they have done. I will tell you of one guy called Mwalimu Muli, now late. Muli was...
I taught with Muli at Kakamega School.
Muli almost became a professional boarding master in a way that the way he managed it. Teachers are well trained. We should not say that teachers
not trained
are only taught pedagogy
Madiba.
peke yake, where kazi yao ni kukuja kusema 1 + 1 is equals to 2. Are we together?
Madiba.
And then the kids say yes. That's not how it works. Mwalimu, I just wanted to let me also say this. Because again,
you may be getting it wrong.
whereas you could be a practitioner,
You're getting it wrong.
you do not need to be a cook to know that food is bad. You don't need to be a chef trained in Utalii to know that hii chakula unakula ni mbaya. So the thing is this, that he's approaching this particular subject from an activist perspective, from a unionist tower, which is okay because everybody must have their own place where they project issues. But we also need to look at this question from an objective perspective. Parents also do not also, as much as parenting is a problem, and I've said that more than enough times, I actually need to say this. We can also not blame some of these things on teachers. It's true teachers have been raping some kids. It's true teachers have got extra sexual relationship with the students. It's true teachers have been looting schools.
It's also true doctors do the same. It's also true politicians
yes, that's
do
what I'm
the same.
saying. So you cannot
Media
then come out and say that
but the board
teachers
also do the same.
You cannot then say therefore that teachers are angels and everybody else is responsible for the mess that happens in schools. That particular approach is the wrong one. All of us, both the unions,
Let me finish the point
the ministry,
you made the point.
TSC, and everybody else, we really need to talk to each other, not to talk at each other. But it is
let me
this
make the
kind
point.
of stance that is causing the problem.
Okay, what Arnold doesn't know is that already there's a paper coming up. In fact, already the Ministry of Education has come up with something said to disassociate teachers, especially head teachers, from management of schools. If you are employed by TSC, you know what even Madiba is not understanding, my brother Arnold is not understanding. I think he's not out of touch with what's happening in schools. Right now, we have got TSC that employs teachers. A head teacher is answerable to TSC. But schools, unaona your buildings, now wanafunzi, wako ndani ya hiyo shule, they belong to the ministry, not to TSC. TSC employs you to teach. But management of school, collecting fees, see your building, making sure they are clean, it is a work and a duty of Ministry of TSC is very independent from Ministry of Education. So already there is something going on whereby they're trying to say, okay, and what I'm telling you is now practical in other countries.
The TSC employs you to go and teach on the road?
Let me just finish, my brother. You know, so
in
when
school,
now you are becoming an activist. It's like telling me a lawyer is employed to go and do law in
that's
on
what
the
I'm
road.
telling you. He goes to a court. He therefore will have to work with the
Now let me finish. Don't interfere with my thought.
Okay,
Let me finish. Don't interfere with my thought. It's funny reasoning like that. Teachers teach in a school, teach in a classroom, but the class is not owned by the teacher.
Okay.
In fact, some schools are even owned by communities. They build the school. That school is managed by the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education can get a person to manage their property. It is not the teacher who should do it. I go to court as a lawyer to represent you, Bitok, in court. When I go there, I'll get a judge, I'll get a warden, I'll get a policeman. Everybody knows their rule and what to do. When I watch football game of Arsenal, there is a coach, there is a referee, there is a player, there is everything. Even a player knows where to play from. Not every player who is number 2 plays number 8. All we are telling people, Kenyans, and Kenyans will learn, people like Madiba will learn as days go by. A teacher is not trained very well in financial management. That's not our training. Ministry of Education has the capacity to bring us a bazaar, a person answerable to the ministry, not to the teacher, answerable to the ministry, to collect fees, to balance the books, to do the tenders, to bring in everything, to do everything that is supposed to be done financially without the involvement of a teacher. So that when the bazaar goes wrong, he knows whom to answer to, the Ministry of Education.
That is in no dispute.
And let me finish. And that's what, you are not allowing me to give you now the point. And so the point is this. Teachers have been spread thin in our schools. My brother, just listen for once.
I hear you.
Please
and
listen.
I agree by the you probably didn't get my point. Let me just
spread so thin
help your point.
that watoto mwalimu ndio nurse ndiye anapeleka watoto kwa hospitali usiku.
Let me-
Mwalimu ndio nini? So we are just saying, Ministry of Education, surely must you load all these things on a poor teacher at Kakamega High School? Like Muli died serving these children.
Let me
Can't
just
we also
let me
have-
send this point home properly.
Yes,
Probably
and I hope we'll agree with you on that.
This is the point. Kenyatta National Hospital. Let me move away from education, so probably I am able to demonstrate this point properly. Kenyatta National Hospital is a medical facility. Therefore, it goes without saying that a majority of the people who work at Kenyatta are medics, right? They're doctors, technicians, nurses, and everyone else, right? Now, the
They're coming
person
out very
who
well
manages
Kenyatta.
Kenyatta, it does not necessarily mean that it has to be a medic.
It's true. Now you're talking.
But I can tell you that a lot of times when an unmedic manages Kenyatta, they have got a lot of problems dealing with the medics because they say this person does not understand
Us.
and therefore that is why government came up with this way that we will put Ketrako, for example, is a technical place. So it's not hard to have an engineer at the top, but that engineer must have, for example, an MBA. They must have a training that gives them the capacity to manage.
Now we are there.
And that is where, for example, government and TSC tried to take away head teachers, for example, from mainstream, or rather, fraternizing. When I'm using the word fraternizing, I'm not using it the way we use it elsewhere, with the rest of the staff. So that they are teachers by profession, but people who understand management of facilities and everything around that. It is also true that other schools struggle. So a lot of these problems is actually complaining about are issues that are not so much of policy, and they are not even in policy. They are constraints of resources, and we have underfunded our education to a level where when you become a matron, you have now become a nurse of sorts, you have become a security, you have become a national intelligence service operative, you have become a food and nutritionist and everything else. Those are issues for me from an aspect of financing education, where schools that are actually doing well, they have got a sanatorium or a clinic of their own, they have got a nurse, they have got a van that takes, I went to a school that actually had everything like that. They have got a bus that will take guys to activities. And when you're going out, you have got a teacher who has got, like for example, he's a thespian himself, and he so many times he used to give us trouble, even though we, the people in Kakamega High School, still remain the home of theatre. That is the powerhouse of theatre. But once in a while, he would cause trouble, him and Javas Bigambo's father from Moi University, trying to give us problems in Kakamega when Menishi was there. But we still remain, and the culture has remained. But the thing is that so that we do not conflate this issue, let us actually be able...
Just say it.
Let us disagree. Let us be in a place where
separate.
We do not do not separation. Finance it better, because if you go to Alliance, by the way, they do not have the same problems he's having. If you come to Kakamega High School, you will not have the same problems with Shamahoho, for example.
My friend, Kakamega will ban and Shamahoho will not ban.
While I'll tell you, schools like Musingo and Shamahoho have banned so many times I cannot even count.
Yes, and Alliance,
Kakamega is banning for the first time, and I will actually just speak it.
Bunyore girls this morning.
So
the girls have banned their schools already.
Yeah, they threatened and they've started.
So that we move from
in
that.
In the long run, probably,
Yes.
we actually need to look at this particular issue. It goes just beyond teachers being strained. And a lot of times you will talk, this school that we were being told, guys saying that they called the head teacher and told him,
Moho High School.
Moho High School, telling the teacher that we love you very much, we have no problem with you.
That is
we want to go home.
Yes.
But we will text you and
we'll text you when we want to come back, when we are ready to come back.
So you see, problem solving is also just about how are teachers doing the teaching, for example. You want to run away from that? You can't run away. In Moho High School, but then we need to congratulate the teaching staff there, because they have got these guys that dialogue.
It's very important.
You know, when you guys, you remember in college when you have the prof will tell you, I want you to convince me that you deserve these marks. So that I'm not just going to mark alone. That if you convince me you actually deserve these marks, I'll give you. So how are we also teaching our children that some can actually come up and show up and tell the head teacher, hey, Mwalimu, we are sitting here, and we do not like the way you are doing this and this. I remember in our final year, in final year, students little bit, it's just like Form 2s. Form 2s and Form 4s can actually be very stubborn. So we were given a teacher who was specifically in charge of us, a guy called Atavachi, Joseph Atavachi. And this guy was relatively young, and he told us, what is the problem with you if I tell you to study late? Oh, we are tired, we are sleepy, and you'll come and beat us up. And we are talking about 450 boys here. And say, okay, I will talk to the administration and they will give you coffee. Do you think that will work? And we just thought, where has this guy come from? And to date, that culture remains in Kakamega High School, where guys who are studying late are given coffee. So it was a simple thing telling guys, okay, I want you to study because when you come out of here, it will be, we want a mean grade. We are also a school. We have got a few things that we would like to do, but we also know that you have got problems. So can we give you, it's a small incentive. You involve kids in participation. For us, we started electing prefects.
Let's really move on from this topic.
But I think
just
it's
want
a very
to conclude
important
by just
topic.
saying this.
Yes.
I know Madiba knows what I'm saying is true. He's working in private schools. My wife works at, she's your follower, I know.
Yes,
you know,
yeah, at Riara.
At Riara Springs.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most best organized schools. It's run by Eda Gashuki.
Yes.
You know, she was a senior educationist. That school has, the transport department is very independent. The school has over 300 buses transporting children around this city. 300.
You meet them everywhere.
Yes, all over. Anywhere you go in this town, you'll see a bus written on Riara. You go to their dorms. The hostels are run by a professional. In fact, it's a person who was imported from Cuba.
Hello?
And run the hostels at Riara.
Cuba tena.
You go to Brookside here,
You actually need to give their details because those jobs can be done by locals.
Yeah. So, you see, you go to Brook House here. I'm telling you, the swimming department, the swimming is a person who won an Olympic gold from the UK. Employed to do what? To teach the children and take care of their swimming. You go to schools like now, even to go to here Alliance Girls. My daughter is at Alliance Girls. You saw her celebrating.
Yes.
At Alliance Girls, they have tried to come up with such a thing nowadays. The chaplaincy, what we call the spiritual, is run by the church. The school almost dissociates itself with how the church comes in to run and guide the girls. The church has programs with the girls, even taking them for mission trips to go and evangelize in Turkana and wherever. My daughter the other day was in Turkana to evangelize. You know, you ask the class, she says, that is the department of the chaplaincy. I don't even know. You go now to the boardings, the word boarding in the UK, in the US, boarding schools are for very rich people. They are not for the normal me and you. Boarding school in the UK, ukisikia mtoto amepelekwa boarding, huyo ni mtu tajiri. If you look at the movies, look at the series, those things people like watching in their houses. Boarding is not for anybody.
Mwalimu here is complicating these issues. Oh my.
And I want to finish my brother because I really want to move on. So, the boarding idea is a good idea. But it's a very delicate idea. We have seen children fall into... Do you know in my school, when I went there to look at what is happening, for the last, since Kina Madiba were there, since I was there, they've not added pit latrines. Watoto wanapanga laini kwa choo for almost 2 hours. You go to Mukumu boys.
This is hate speech.
You go, you know, and the toilets are the sanitary.
Kama wana shida ya tumbo nini itafanyika?
Sasa, let me tell you. I read on Facebook, a girl who learned at a school down in Western, she wrote and said, actually, Mr. Amunga, some schools need to be burnt down. Because of what is happening there. The toiletry, the water, like in Kakamega, there's no water. They go to that river down there. Water will fail.
What changed?
That's what we call administration. And the numbers.
When
there is something called... that's what I'm telling you. Don't talk about me when I was in Mumia's Boys. When I was in Nyeri High. That was one of the best schools in this south of Sahara, north of Limpopo. Nyeri High. That's where Kibaki land. But now go to Nyeri High today. They even banned prefects. Let me tell you, what has changed in our schools is this, Madiba. Since you are last there in Kakamega High, hawajaongeza chochote.
They've actually added a lot of dormitories.
Dorms ziliongezwa, paka za juu, kwenda juu, na hakuna maji ndani. So a politician comes, do you know, in fact, you go to my blog even this morning, what I've written about Kakamega High. The sewer system failed since Oliver Minishi's time. Sewer system ili flop. Paka maji ina drain paka ndani ya hiyo buildings. Yani it is pathetic. And then I went to State House Girls here. I went to Buruburu where the girls dorm band. That cubicle, you look at it. That people, those girls, there's a girl sleeping at the ceiling.
And
huko yani is a trip, is now a quadruple.
Kitanda ni 4.
Ni 4.
Unapanda aje?
Ingine hapo, ingine ya mwisho iko juu kabisa. And you know, we parents, we are sitting at home thinking our children are just in school enjoying. The issue is the boarding facilities in our schools is down.
And they are failing because the people who've been managing, whereas some of those facilities are actually run well. Not all of them actually run down. But the point is that the difference between those that are run well and those that are not run well is management. And if there is a capacity gap, we should up that. There is also the element of corruption that we cannot run away from.
We can't run away. Cartels you talked about.
The cartels that I spoke about.
They're in schools.
So we still need that's why I said closing down boarding schools as a response in itself
because that one is out.
Is still reactionary.
Nobody has said anybody. You know, AMUNGA is a teacher cannot talk of closing down boarding. So I have said, change,
streamline
the management. Get some other people.
Those are the words that you had not said initially. Now we can proceed to the next.
And I've put it, my brother. Let those boardings be done by professionals. A boarding is not done by a teacher. Boarding can be done.
It used to be done. Professionals, like I've just given you an example.
My brother, me, I was trained
management.
I was trained in
all
Kenyatta University.
In this country. Let me just tell you.
All parastatals.
All parastatals.
Hakuna course mwalimu anaenda inamfundisha how to be a nurse, a night nurse.
There is a reason in this country why to become a CEO of a parastatal you must have also a master's degree and most preferably an MBA.
As we are only employed by our P1 certificate. We are not employed by those things.
You are not employed by a P1. Kenyatta never offered you a P1.
Yeah, but I'm just telling many of us, most of our majority, we have 360,000 teachers.
Today, if you actually
most of them are P1s.
If you go to schools, you will actually realize that one of the professions that has got so many degrees today is actually the teaching fraternity. Now, TSC is even now pushing them down and harassing them for actually having gotten those papers. So, it's not true that teachers are not learned. Teachers are actually learned. These are the
having a problem this morning.
I am having a problem with the way you are trying
to tell my listeners and my supporters that I'm saying they are not learned.
I have said
teachers are professionals.
But you just said
they learn. P1 is our certificate and I'm proud of it.
Having a P1 is not a problem.
It's a good thing. It's a certificate.
It's a important
and it's a very important one. So we are learning. And let me tell this to my NAT members.
Important.
Because
thank you very much.
What I'm saying. We are professionals. We are trained to teach. We are not trained to be watchmen, nurses, boarding mistresses and masters, CU patrons, drama coaches, swimming pool attendants. We are only trained for one thing. I can put my certificate and my coursework on social media of what I was trained to do in Kenyatta. And I conclude by saying,
Mwalim, before you conclude,
we as teachers will do our work.
Let him conclude.
I want him to conclude after I've told him this. If you are employed as an engineer and the only things you can do is to be an engineer, you will not be employed anywhere. I'm not just even talking about teaching. If you just insist on doing what you can do, employers are not looking for such like people anywhere. Now you can finish.
And I finish by saying, just like lawyers go to court, represent, and they go away. Doctors go to the hospital, they get the nurses have done their work, the surgeons they know what to do, they do it and go away. That's what we teachers were trained to do at Kenyatta, at Kotogoto, at Kericho Teachers College. We were trained to teach our children. Make sure those children pass. Make sure you attend all your classes. Make sure you do your work thoroughly well. You are a professional.
And go an extra mile.
And whatever, anything extra, you let somebody pay for it. If they give you another job to be a games master, let it be documented and let them pay for you to be a swimming master in your school. If they make you the CU patron, let it be documented and pay. And let it be recognized when you will be retiring as a teacher. But let somebody not give you a job which you are not trained for and is not recognized in law.
All right. Captain A Kimwa sama AMUNGA as a point. Run schools like universities where the lecturers teach and go home.
Universities are even run worse than schools.
Oh, you guys have even made my comments disappear. Anyway, acha tufungue simu basi kidogo 779-800-10 Bunge la Mwananchi liko wazi, nambari ni 779-800-10 Bunge la Mwananchi liko wazi, nikitafuta comments 779-800-10. Unaweza kupiga simu uweze kuchangia kwenye mjadala. Mbona kina Farid tayari washauliza bunge funguliwa saa ngapi? Nambari ni 779-800-10 779-800-10. Si comment zangu nenda hapa kidogo. I'm trying to find 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Nambari ni 0779-800-010 or 779-800-010. Meanwhile, also tukisubiri ngona mamkatari. Jambo, bunge la mwananchi.
Bunge la mwananchi, good morning Gerald.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I'm very fine. This is Farid Faraj.
Farid, mambo?
Poa sana. Salamia kwa Amunga na ARNOLD.
Amesalimika? Amunga vaa headphones, ameongeleshwa?
Asante.
Amunga mrembe.
Mrembe mno mwana wefu.
Olimlamu?
Mlamu sana.
Sasa on boarding schools to be closed to home day schools.
Yes.
That is a knee-jerk reaction. We have people who benefited from boarding schools and we wish them to continue because home can't give us a good environment of learning. Mm-hmm. Some of us, when you were in primary, when you're done with the classes, in the evening you go bring animals back home, mm-hmm. You don't have that time to learn. So let the ministry not kill the spirit of the young Kenyans who want an environment to learn because of a few individuals who do not want to learn. Maybe they have good life or their parents have a better life. Let them not destroy for those people who are trying to make their ends meet. Number two, schools are banned because of the irritation or the agitation of the students. The students are also human beings. They have good feelings. They have to be heard. When you become a dictator to students, they will show you they can do something better than what you think they can. When I remember when you were in school, our principal could sit us down monthly. What are the challenges you are facing? Tell me. I'm not going to tell any teacher. If there's a problem from the teachers, it is going to be solved. If there's a problem from the cooking staff, it is going to be solved. If there is a problem from the nurse or the matron, it is going to be solved. So when you sit down, or when you have a problem, you wait for that day of the month. It was the end of the last weekend of the month. You could sit down, get a wonder, listen to our views, record them, and the first Monday of the month, the implementation has already started to be implemented. But you see now when the principals or the teachers not want to listen to people, they will show you their way of expressing dissatisfaction. Number three, let us not, Amunga, this is addressed to you.
Yes.
There was a clip I was watching. You were commenting about all media services. I think you went so low.
Oh, what did I
By
say?
saying you are saying it is cheating lawyers, or it is paying a bit of melody and taking out of money from you people, selling the ideas of Raila to you people. Those media services, it is a clip you recorded. It was like a selfie recording. You're telling your people to wake up beyond that. That they notice that your people love radio more than any other thing. So they are selling their, what do you call this, lotteries. They are betting and every other thing. Those things people decide on themselves.
Gambling.
So when you incite people, yes, gambling, people gamble beyond the age of 18. There are rules that are governing that. If all media has breached any rule, the courts are there. Go to court, explain your dissatisfaction, let the court give a ruling, and everybody to be heard. But you go down and incite your people, speaking to them in lawyer, telling them that we are benefiting less from whatever these people are benefiting, you are killing somebody's business at the expense of selling your candidate who is Muslim, whatever, they will lose a lot. Because if all media services today, the campaign Salem, it will take them like only 2 advertisements, and Musali is nowhere. He's limping already, and if you go there now starting fighting somebody who has established Nini, who has resources and the established networks, they can reach common mwananchi. They speak to them in Vuka FM, they speak to them on Citizen TV, Citizen Radio. They will kill you people politically. So if you have something wrong against them, just go to court, stop the marketing people, and inciting people against people who are already making profits and giving other people employment. Asanteni sana. Kama kuna swali ya Munga sema nijibu.
Leo acha ninyamaze.
Farid, umefanya vizuri.
Hiyo mtakataa ama si wewe?
Hiyo ya clip.
Yeah,
hiyo mpaka nitaangalia kama ni mimi. Siwezi comment.
In fact, you mentioned Atea, you mentioned Menzo Senzore and a few people.
Farid nitaangalia wala nitumie kwa WhatsApp.
Farid.
Hey.
Amunga really needs Amunga needs to thank you kwa sababu you are straightening him. Of late amekuwa anapenda kutenda dhambi ndogo ndogo zile zenye si za umri wake. Ni vizuri aanze kuwa mtu mzuri.
Na naona ako na movie anaharibu zimbuze. Nito zimbuze.
Unajua hata saizi ashapita ile age ya kukuwa mbaba. Sasa yeye saizi ni msponsor na anafanya vitu kama za watoto. Unajua si mzuri?
Kama gani? Kitu kama gani?
Kama hiyo moja hiyo. Tulikuwa na example tusikuaibishe sana.
Hatutaki kutaja ile ya Meru. So kwa hii show I think hiyo tumeachana tunazungumza tu ingine. So but I think kwa hii show Bitoka anataka pia alete nyeunyo. Tunatandika mle mtu mwenye amefanya makosa kama mwalimu hapa, tunamwambia mwalimu wewe ulikuwa unatandika watu lakini hapa umeenda chini sana.
You see now he's making good points, but you see now anasema a teacher cannot be a nurse. A teacher cannot be so and so.
He loves conflating issues. He's a very good human being.
In schools we have nurses who take care of students. I work in a hospital setup. People who bring students to hospital, it is either a nurse or a person who takes care of the students in the school. Those are people who are employed by the school, not by the ministry. They are paid by the school itself. And parents, teachers, organizations, something of the sort, they are paid. So when a student is sick, they have their own clinic. If the clinic cannot handle that, they refer them to hospitals. And it happens everywhere. If it is a sport injury, the teacher who took them to sport takes them to hospital, then they'll give the file back to the nurse. It is just but an organization. Again, Amunga is saying teachers are not trained about sport. If you are curious, if you go to the curriculum of a P1 teacher, they are trained the measurements of a football pitch. Why are they trained about that? They are trained about how many minutes a game should be played. They are trained about the rules of each and every game. And it is examinable in their final exam. Amunga, why are you lying to us, Bwana?
There is a course called PE, Farid.
Yes, it is also a lesson.
No,
yes.
Even in Kenyatta, teachers. Just a minute. Even in Kenyatta University, there are teachers who took something called PE. They were learning swimming. What? It's a course, and it is trained and is paid for. You cannot just pick anybody and make him the person in charge of swimming in a school or in charge of something without a contract written. I'm talking labor laws. I'm not just talking from nowhere.
Amunga. By the time a teacher says he wants to take children to drama, he has interest in drama already. I cannot come and pick a teacher who does not know anything about drama and tell them you are going to be my drama teacher.
Amunga himself, was he trained drama at KU?
Yes. I did literature.
You will show
that is my work. Farid, there are teachers who are trained to do drama. I did drama at Kenyatta University.
So
I did drama, it's on my coursework.
So Amunga, under your coursework, so you cannot go with children to drama because it is not part of your, maybe you teach English literature. You cannot go to drama with drama class to a drama event and you will use in your coursework. Why were you doing it in university? Or you are doing it for formality?
Farid, ukunielewa.
It's okay, Farid. Thanks so much for
teaching
the fear of God.
Thank you.
No, Amunga was saying, Arnold.
Yes.
He was saying, let the teacher come, train the students the lesson he has, and go home.
That's what he said.
Which is so wrong. Teachers also, they have learning,
Haya. Asante sana.
You can mentor them. You have hata vitu mingi mwalimu anafunza shuleni. Why can't they go and teach? Ama ni kufunza for formality. Napenda sana wanamunga, don't kill me.
I look for you.
Thank you so much, Farid. Thank you so much for calling in. Arab to you and these are professionals and serious citizens that shall be employed in the Ministry of Education as advisors, okay? And Robo Josh anasema watching the show nikiwa Ripmoi. So asante. James anasema Cuba tena Dr. Let's take a moment to appreciate that statement by Gerald. Nimeshangaa bwana kuna shule dormitory na manajua na Cuba na. Mambo mengi kweli. To you, I guess I'm saying Arnold Maliba is getting it wrong what AMUNGA is trying to say, the government told us teachers should not touch the kids. The teachers should not instill discipline into kids. Now the teachers should pull off from everything that they were not trained to do. Or we go back to drawing board and ask ourselves where the rain started beating us. Okay. Generation Z, don't take right. I pity the politicians promising heaven. You should change them what the trauma is state house. Jeff Sukansama Jaro Bitoka Munga makes a good point. Do lecturers take care of students in hostels? Okay. Those students were put on a roller coaster scheduled of being home for a whole year. Mental health is an important factor. I agree with you. We need to look at the mental situation as well. To say the man is breathing fire. All I can give is agree with him. Students have been given power than the teachers. Okay. Ali Chogi, good to see my sister. Sama tuned in from Kiwagenge, Trans Nzoia County. Interesting topic. Asante Nesi. Sama hulang from Diane. Long time, Mr. Kitambo sana kidogo. Alex Wanyandarua watching from Eldore. Thank you so much, Alex Wanyandarua. YouTube, the vigilante, anasema gani MALIBA respect Peter AMUNGA. He knows a lot, degrees don't work, it's the person who works. UK Vision Football Kenya from the UK. Bitoka, I'm a teacher in the UK. If AMUNGA want to just teach and go, he should be a lecturer. Would AMUNGA accept the police to beat him? That is corporal punishment. Beating does not solve problems. Okay. Paul Njaya, my principal, Mr. Samuel Manenos, was a perfect example of a good teacher, a stroke parent. He advised me personally to stop smoking and concentrate on my education. In manages strict 1997 without any property damage. Okay. Peter Njaya as well. AMUNGA's case is a classic example of fault finding and victim mentality, no responsibility taking, lack of problem solving, competency detected. Okay. The issue of school banning is a societal problem caused by all stakeholders. Failure to take the responsibilities through this Kenyan society likes to apportion blame rather than look for solutions. Thomas Ocheng, Peter AMUNGA, stop misleading listeners. Our kids are getting taught by the able teachers, but must take care of everything entrusted to them, including actual facilities. Be factual. Right. Vision Kenya, regarding banning schools, Parliament must be bold and abolish boarding schools. We should also listen to the youth more and establish a good day schools. Youth need continuous parenting and parental mentoring. Thomas Jazarilo Dingas actually hallelujah, no problem being Masagulu, but he's on admission and is a fake Luo. Bottom up is the real deal and about to belong to the Asla nation. Okay. Vision Samai Bitoka, Ethiopia, and a number of African countries need to prioritize national identity, inclusion, and nationalism. Singapore's first president prioritized this after independence to cure the issue. Alright. And then in mambo ya Ethiopia, whatever is going on in Ethiopia. Amos Ochuli anasema Arnold amesema there should be a dialogue between teachers and students. Just now Kerugoya boys has did it. They have walked out of school. All right. Okay, continue walking out of school. Students, if you're listening to me, I don't need nobody.
Ban schools.
Yes, don't just walk out.
Then why walk out also? Why walk out?
I mean, if you fail,
if you
it's not rest, but that's not about rest.
It's rest.
No.
Sasa wachome kwanza.
Watu wanatoka hata nyumbani after the other long holidays which you used to have 3 months and they ban the school the next January.
If you come to school and you find that is uncomfortable, it is the same things we tell people in relationships, that if you are in a relationship and you could burst
Walk
up
out.
and cause problems, walk out. Because
But
if you ban and then someone dies in it, that now changes from just being a case of indiscipline. It turns into murder. And no one wants such like a case.
what you guys don't also realize is that some of the fellows who will incite others to walk out may just be around 5-6 boys. The rest want to learn. The ones who ban those dorms are not even very many fellows. There may be 4 boys, 5 boys.
Now you actually accept
They are
that,
not-
that boarding actually works.
No,
and that
many
there
children
are
want
few
to learn.
rotten apples
Yes,
are
many
actually very
children.
few.
Boarding schools are good.
They work.
But we don't have investigative powers as teachers to know who are the rotten boys who can ban the school. It takes us by surprise. We are not investigators. We are not trained to be police officers. We don't know how to be CID officers to know that these criminals in my dorm or in my school want to
Are
ban
planning
our
to
school.
do this. But I'll tell you that one time too many, if there has been a problem in class, a teacher is likely. You remember when you used to do shitty stuff in the house and your mother is busy doing something else and she actually says, hebu toka hapo kwa sufuria. And it is true. ulikuwa kwa sufuria na hata hajaangalia. Teachers are actually that smart. They can tell you who are the bad boys. But also the system has been weakened in a way that now you can actually know who are the bad people. You can't do anything about them. That is what we should be talking about, strengthening. And not whole 100% saying that this boarding system doesn't work.
No, who said so? It works.
Initially, that's why you began.
No. Again, I'll repeat. This is now the fourth time.
Repeat. The fourth time. Before the last time.
Fourth and last.
The last time. All right.
Boarding schools are good. I am a member. I learned through boarding schools. But the boarding school I went through in Mumias Boys and at Nyeri High School is not the boarding school of today. The boarding school of today is not run properly because of policies that have come from government that include teachers like me are not even allowed sometimes to go to the dorm. I teach in a girls' school. I taught in a girls' school in Kipsigis. I'm not even allowed to go near those dorms.
What would you want to go and do there?
No, please allow me.
Those are young adults.
Listen, there are schools even where we have deputy, we have a principal who's a female in a boys' schools. We have that. We have a principal who's a male in a girls' school.
And they're male teachers.
No, just listen. You'll be allowing me to finish. Arnold, please.
Let him finish.
You know, when you do that, now you
sorry,
confuse me.
Don't stop confusing them.
Yeah. So, the rules and the policies that we are seeing right now, some of them inhibit us even from touching or moving near your child in form of punishment or correction. Your child has more power. Your child, as a parent in school, marks me present in school or absent. It is done by children.
But what is wrong with that?
And so what is happening is, as teachers, we now fear your children. The day when I was in school, as children, I feared my teachers. I respected them. Today, as a teacher, I find my student to have more power than me. My student can report me, can sack me, can have my job gone. I can't punish him. I can't do anything to this child. The policies that are in place right now don't allow teachers to do anything in those schools. That's why we are saying as teachers, since we don't have the mandate, we don't have the mandate to punish, don't have mandate to arrest, we don't have the mandate to do anything. Can some of these responsibilities be removed from us so that now other professional bodies who have been given the mandate to punish, the mandate to arrest, also help us run the schools? That's all I'm saying in very simple terms. But I'm saying boarding schools are good. They are very good. And we need them. But I'm saying, the way the policies were made by Matiang'i, and that's what I started by saying, have denied us the power to run a school the way we were running schools in the 90s or in the 80s. Right now, we can't run a school. We don't have the power.
First of all, I think we probably need to move on to probably politics. That
No,
would be much
we're
easier.
actually closing.
But when you listen to Mwalimu here, I listen to him and I actually think he's the author of Lamentations.
The Bible.
As in for him, it is weeping and gnashing of teeth and nothing good coming out. And even if he began with something positive, he then pours a lot of tears on it that you cannot even see it. Probably, Mwalimu needs to also move away from that predisposition to actually come off as if all things started with Matiang'i. For example, the banning of caning was done in late 90s, and Kalonzo was the minister then for education. A lot of these things have been progressive. So we cannot really push this Matiang'i narrative too far. Parenting didn't start just the other day. The problems with parenting didn't start the other day. The challenges with the education and mismanagement of schools didn't start the other day. So from wherever we are, I think rather than weeping and lamentations and everything else, I would actually encourage him
finally,
that as a professional, we should look at the positive side and also speak solutions. And the solutions we give should also be sensitive to the ecosystem.
And the solution remains boardings can be managed
as
by
we go
professionals.
As we go,
Teachers.
should cabinet ministers get involved in politics?
That is again the other thing.
As we
and
go,
a very good point, a question to start from.
It also
A
start at the
cabinet
end.
minister, and we as ANC, we had Cleophas Malala, the senator for Kakamega, come out very clearly and said he will sue. We will sue. These ministers, the types of Matiang'i that we've been talking about a few minutes ago, the types of Cicely Karaoke we saw the other day, the types of Joe Musheru. It is against the law. And that is the only problem that I find in this country, our dear listeners, that we come up with laws that we can't just implement. And yet we expect even we teachers to implement laws in schools. These laws that this country keeps coming up with are never adhered to. We saw the COVID protocols. Very clear protocols. And the only person who was obeying COVID protocols was Musalia Mudavadi. The ANC party leader is at least the only person who knows how to stick to the rule of law. But the rest of our politicians, we saw them everywhere, with crowds, with no masks, with nothing. Yet the COVID protocols were clear. It's the same thing you're talking about now. We have ministers. We expect a minister who is going to take care of our security during the elections. The minister who is going to be non-partisan is the one receiving a politician and saying that this politician I support, I endorse, I agree with this one, I tend to think this one is right, this is the Mandela moment. We saw Cicely Kariuki. I tell you, I felt so sad when I saw Cicely Kariuki, especially when she failed us in the health sector and Mutahi Kagwe had to take over. You know, I felt very sad. And I think the reason why cabinet ministers were made to be cabinet ministers, secretaries as that, not what we used to have before, because there was a feeling that they should dissociate themselves with politics. So what we are seeing, Kenyans, is very unfortunate. I don't know if Maliba will agree with that one. Then I'll know that he has a problem. But obviously, we cannot have a minister openly coming out in the open, climbing a campaign track, and campaigning for one of the presidential candidates. It is wrong, it's immoral, it's ungodly, it's diabolic, it is satanic, it is Shetania Shindo.
It is satanic, all right. Okay.
It's funny that Malim decided that if I do not agree with it, then I have got a problem. Even without listening to me, he's the judge, the jury, and everything else. This is what is satanic. Now, the law as it were, at least as the way it's written, is that cabinet secretaries should stay away from politics, at least active politics. We know that cabinet secretaries are products of politics themselves because they are appointed by politicians, and the process that brings them to office is actually also political. And that is why I also think that the authors of the Constitution were creating an oxymoronic situation where I am being brought in by political actors in a political process, and I am asked to stay away from politics. The truth is that I might act like I am not politically inclined, but I'm taking orders and working together with the politicians. So, as law is today, politicians, and especially cabinet secretaries, and I'm talking about cabinet secretaries in segments where we actually need them to be independent. Like, for example, you are in interior. We are going into a transition, transition between two regimes. You are going to manage that, and you already have picked sides. How am I going to trust the police officers who take instructions from you when they show up in my rally and break it down? Even if I am actually the person who is on the wrong, I will always see ill will to it. So there is a reason, of course. There was the reason behind. When you look at the notes from Naivasha, the constitution making, everything had a reason, the rationale behind why every particular law was structured the way it is. So cabinet secretaries, and the reason why cabinet secretaries were required to be apolitical was so simple, that in the days of old, politicians who are ministers used to use state in their advantage, and therefore sometimes competition would not be fair. The distribution of resources wouldn't be fair. So 2022 is here. Matiang'i has already said, he was in Kisii, and he clearly said where he stands. Joe Musheru, the man who is, at least I am happy that at least if you understand how our politics works, is that the ICT bit of it is a very small one. Just the transition of results, transmission of results.
And that is the key issue.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
It's not. The people who actually have made transmission of results so big are ODM, and because they are believers in conspiracy theories. What the transmitting, the channel is doing is simply picking what was done in the polling station. It cannot change. It should not change. It is signed at the polling, and we no longer have got where people are coming to a tallying center. We did away with tallying centers. And people have to meet somewhere, and then there is where we are moving ballots. No, we moved away from that. So the transmission itself is quite, thank God it's a very small thing. I would be worried because the way Musheru has actually come out, then you will know that he will actually try and tweak results. Unfortunately, what is on the ground is what goes through that particular channel. So he only manages challenges that inform us. He can give us a blackout if he wants, and he can do whatever he wants. But at the end of the day, we will have agents in polling stations who will sign on those forms that are scanned. By the way, you can actually have your own results before IBC does without actually having wrong results, because what comes from the polling station is what you need.
It's final.
But we are also worried that they should do their damn job. We are struggling as a country. We have got insecurity in this country. The CS in charge of that is not working on Samburu, is not working in elsewhere, but is busy telling us about 2022. Why is he in his office? If he wants to come out in politics, he should actually step down. So CSS who are actually in this particular business should actually be recalled. Well, if recalling is even the word that should be applied in this particular, they should actually just step down and go home. Okay. If we were a country that respects laws, if we were a country that really embraces the constitution that we have, Matiang'i should not be in the office today, Joe Musheru should not be in the office today, Cecily Kariuki should not be in the office today, and quite a lot of this cabinet, even Eugene Wamalwa.
In fact, Eugene, yeah.
These guys should not be there. But we are here, and people are acting like this is not a breach of the Constitution. No. If you do not respect small things in the Constitution, you will not respect bigger things. By the way, the signature of this administration has been ignoring laws. Yeah. And I've said on this particular platform before that the president a lot of times behaves as if his Constitution is written in pencil, and where he does not like, he just erases it, and something that is so wrong. You know, when we were young and we were growing up and there were things we wanted to do and we didn't like how the Bible is written, we used to say, if this Bible was written in pencil, where they say do not, I would actually just erase the note. I just erase the note and then I do. That's how Uhuru behaves.
But that's where now Madiba fails. He wants to talk about Uhuru. It is Uhuru to.
But Uhuru is supporting Oka, and when he supports Oka is okay. But then when it comes to the mistakes that Uhuru has done,
when he's giving AMUNGA Prado,
yes, Uhuru Tano Tena simply means our dear Kenyans that this is a government we voted for. We voted for a pair.
So what is Oka doing? What is Oka doing?
I was so surprised to see the deputy president writing a letter to IEBC to complain about the same. It is people like us in opposition who should be doing that, because
you're not in opposition.
This is the government.
In government.
I'm not in government.
Oka is in government. We have seen, let me just probably remind you, you probably didn't know, but I have seen your party leader update and say that they were meeting the president to deliberate and help the country in the administration of COVID, national issues. As in, Oka has actually become specialists on COVID, for example. Where our doctors cannot even have, and I'm talking about our people, the experts in this particular, cannot have a sitting with the president. Wetangula and Mudavadi and Kalonzo are sitting with the president to discuss COVID.
And Mangidi.
Okay, of course.
And Mangidi.
He's simplifying it, but the truth of the matter
so where did you get the cars you're using with identical numbers?
No, those cars, my party leader was a deputy president, he's entitled. Kalonzo was a deputy president, he's entitled. Raila was a former prime minister, entitled. So that one,
so where were these cars?
Wetangula, actually that picture was taken in Githurai. I was there. Wetangula was riding in Gideon's, not Gideon, in Kalonzo's car.
Now you're trying to fix the story.
He was riding in Kalonzo's car. When we go out for this campaign, no, he was in Kalonzo's car.
So where were these cars in 2017? Where were they? Because maybe they have always been.
Take a picture. This time there's some naughty fellow now wants to take pictures.
So there were not pictures on social media.
We have always taken photos, and we saw, for example, your party leader has got one very good armored car, as among the few guys who actually went out to. So he has got his own resources, but for this particular one, he has decided to use public resources to run for office as he tells us this government is wrong.
My party leader was a former deputy president.
Where were these? In 2017,
where
he
was
a
this
former.
in 2017?
2017, he had them. Maybe just that
when he ran for president,
when
he ran for president in 2013, where were these parks?
Again, you need to know the 2010 constitution came up when? The 2010
constitution.
In 2013,
yeah.
The 2020 constitution was actually effective.
In 2013 it was effective.
He actually
it was in 2010. From 2010.
No, from 2010, but it was not.
He had the rights to these parks.
Implemented immediately. It took time.
He had the rights to these parks.
No, some of these things were not implemented immediately. Some have not even been implemented in 2010.
Guys, it's been a pleasure having you.
No. Some of these things, they are being implemented slowly. So maybe by 2013 they are implemented.
But Oka or Oga is
it is Oka,
a project. Oga
One Kenya Alliance. One Kenya Alliance. Continue.
You see that? Whatever that thing you are saying is
Oka One Kenya Alliance.
It is actually a project of government. funded by taxpayers, and also going around and telling us that, and every time, but when the president wants to call them, when they are somewhere campaigning and the president feels like they have said a bad thing, he calls them and they stop the rally. And
can you finish the rally?
Even the drivers that are driving them,
and by the way,
the drivers that are driving them looks like government drivers, because these guys, you just hear the president has summoned them and they stop whatever they were doing, they ran to go and say the president. We thank God that you people have actually accepted to become the president's local boys, guys who are at the beck and call of the president. The rest of the people have to organize themselves. The fifth column, which is the people, have to actually organize themselves. And at any particular time, the good thing is that Kenyans have always defied the state when it wants to lead them in a trench. In 2002, Mudavadi's government, Vice President Mudavadi's government tried to give us Uhuru Kenyatta. The people said no. In 2013, Kibaki's government wanted to give us Mudavadi. The people said no.
Not the people.
In 2013 also, a part of government that was led by Raila as a co-principal, I wanted to give us Raila. The people said no. And in 2022, the people of Kenya will exercise their independence like they have always done since multi-party democracy. That they will choose for themselves. The way we change parliament, 67% of parliament is always changed after every election. Even in this particular election, every project will be taken back to its mother.
Okay. Thank God Musalia Mudavadi is not a project. And I also wish to just correct something here, that there's a lot of media. There's somebody called Itumbi. He's my friend, but he's my student in drama. Itumbi, I know sometimes you listen to me. Itumbi, you have a way of using that UH and B, I don't know, hustler, some nonsense there. And Itumbi writes something, and it's taken even by mainstream media. You know, because I was credible. With my party leader.
He is credible.
I was with my party leader in Kakamega, Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka. All the Oka principals were in Kakamega. And Gideon Moi was going to Narok to do a function. He went for it. Musalia Mudavadi had a personal issue in Nairobi.
But he met the president later on that evening.
No, there's nowhere they met. In fact, I have talked to even Musalia. There's nowhere he met with the president on that Saturday. But everywhere on social media, including even mainstream media like Citizen, like all these newspapers I'm reading, Musalia was meeting the president. Not true, listeners.
Our listeners.
And Oka did not meet the president.
Our listeners.
The 2 Saturdays
I just
ago.
need to say this to our listeners. Yeah. In politics, it is not true until it is denied.
Okay.
Once it's denied, it's true.
All right. Okay, and that's the principle of politics.
So they didn't meet the president, but they can meet the president at any time. The president is a friend of Musalia.
It's true, they are friends. Yeah, they are projects.
Even I'm sure. And I want to tell
you, don't be worried.
Project manager. The president is the project manager of a construction called Oka or Oga. Whatever it is.
Hustlers.
All right, guys, it's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in.
He's also the project manager of this person called Raila. The president has got a lot of projects he's running, political projects. And good people, reject all stooges out there. All projects that are being sent to you, reject them with all your might.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys, for coming in. It's been a pleasure having you. It's been the State of the Nation, the 9th of November 2021. Imekuwa tarehe 9, 11.
The president has not even had a cabinet meeting. The president has not had a cabinet meeting for over a year now.
We cannot
the
be sure.
The president just shows up like any other Kenyan in his position. Okay. But he meets Mudavadi to discuss everything.
And there is something that Bitok has not wanted to tell us this afternoon.
And everything else.
Bitok has not wanted us to touch on the coming national conference for Jubilee Party.
They have said they're going to kick out the DP.
Avoiding that topic.
I'm not avoided because of time.
That is not an NDC Bitok, but you don't need to talk about. That is a burial. So we don't need to talk about it.
It's 10 a.m. All right, thank you guys for coming. It's been a pleasure having you. See you again. If you still want to continue this conversation, you can come on Siasa Wednesday. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for delving on the discourse, especially to do with schools, because I think it's an issue that we need to look at and find a solution around it. Nimesemekana the project manager.
The president project
manager. Thank you guys. Have a good day. It's been a pleasure having you. Take care. This is The Tackle, and it ends now.
You can just speed anything out of anywhere.